Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados live here on Thinking Critical YouTube. We missed a week, which never ever happens. If I'm gonna miss a week, we'll record something earlier. We'll move it to Sunday. I even almost had my house burned down, and we didn't miss a Comics Aficionados. But for some reason, last week's StreamYard was not working. But we are back, baby. We've got lots of comic book news to talk about, and we are waiting for Arid Sparrow. But we've got a jolly gang of comic book nerds together. No Doc, because he is domesticated Doc, and he's got some domestic duties to take care of with the girlfriend. So we're going to go it without him, but it should be fine. We've got returning to the channel, Star Wars and Superman expert Dylan. How you doing, Dylan?
I'm doing good, man. Getting ready to watch Robert Whitaker get a dub later today, so you know it's gonna be a good day.
Just gave it to him.
Well, it's not his fault that Hamzat's tummy hurt, so he had to pull out.
The guy probably had an ulcer or something serious.
No, he literally had food poisoning. That was it. Came out, he just had food poisoning. He's not built different. Can't handle it.
Conor McGregor has a broken toe.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. That's more of a valid pullout than Hamzat's food poisoning. Although food
puking your
poisoning
guts out?
Yeah, but also it was like a week before the fight. Like he'd recover in a day or two. He's not going to be doing that the entire week. He'll be fine. Also, he's the I smash you anytime, brother. Like anytime, and he's like anytime, any place. I'm gonna make it, be champ. And then he gets food poisoning. He's like, oh, I can't fight.
He hasn't been very active. I think he's had like one fight in 3 years or something.
Yeah, he fought like 4 times during COVID, including like twice in the span of a week. And then ever since then, he fights like once a year maybe, and he's pulled out of multiple fights. It's yeah, he's missed weight. He caused that whole debacle when he fought Kevin Holland because he was supposed to fight at 170, but then failed and couldn't fight Diaz, so he fought Holland at 185. Yeah. So
you're not a fan?
No. I liked him at first when he was just destroying dudes, and then he's just gone downhill since. Sad.
So you're excited to see Robert Whitaker just beat some nobody, huh?
He's not some nobody. He's a Dagestani guy that isn't proven yet, so who knows? But he's like a judo world champion or like sambo world champion. He's done a bunch of stuff, and his only loss is to Hamzat. He got knocked out by Hamzat 5 years ago. That's the only person that Ikram's lost to. So we don't know. This guy could be scary. No one else would fight him. This guy was supposed to fight last week, but yeah,
everyone pulled him out of the main event because he was already supposed to fight somebody else.
Yeah, he was gonna fight somebody else, but then that fell through, and so he could fight Rob. And no one else ranked would fight this guy because he's a scary Dagestani, and everyone's scared of these guys because there's no upside to fighting this guy.
Well, there you go.
But
we guess we shouldn't do the MMA aficionados too long.
Not too long.
But Dylan is definitely into the UFC like I was about 8 years ago. I guess maybe it's been 10 since I was really every event watching all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Who else we got? We got Jim. How's the arm? Do you still have a dead arm?
I do. It's a bit dead, but it's coming back.
You can't pick up a cup of coffee.
Well, that is true. But it's not dead. I could pick up maybe like a feather, something like that. I could do that. It's just, some other things. My elbow's messed up. Everything's messed up. That's
so you
par for the
got
course,
this
right?
Disgusting infection in your hand.
Yes.
And
correct.
It dried up, but now it's moved up to your elbow and your shoulder, and you can't lift your arm anymore.
Yes.
But you refuse to go to the doctor because you don't think it's serious.
Well, I already got some antibiotics before, but they were kind of like older ones. They kind of were like in the cabinet. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go to the doctor.
You need the antibiotics that have a warning label on them, like "Do not take this unless you're dying."
Yes, horse pills, things like that. That'll be fun. But yeah, that's this last couple weeks debacle. Yeah. I'm okay. So I was just
it's been good. You had a good Father's Day. Your son remembered Father's Day and even got you a microphone.
Yeah, you say son. I have 5, and you said singular because that is true. 1 got me a new mic. For some reason, I've been losing my voice lately. Maybe that's involved with everything too. And right as you went to me, I wasn't waiting for that, and I was eating a baked potato. It's not the greatest thing to do when you're trying to talk. It's all stuck in my throat and stuff. But yes, hello everybody.
So you're still not eating meat?
No, I'm eating a lot of potatoes and rice and things like that.
Man,
Getting
you should
into
go on
fighting
Survivor,
shape.
man. That's literally what they eat there.
That is true, but I'd probably die within seconds. Yeah, I'd be the guy. I'd get caught in like the helicopter propeller. Some ridiculous thing that makes no sense would happen, and then I'd be dead.
But we had a good comic book week, at least, Jim.
Yeah, we did. We actually had a better week than we've had. Me and you talking on your Patreon about this stuff. We actually were able to recommend some comics for once.
Yeah, and DC and Marvel have been putting us through our paces, so it was nice, refreshing week where there was some bad stuff, especially Batman and Wonder Woman stood out in ASM really, but the other stuff was pretty good. Even the Wolverine Blood Hunt was fantastic.
Yeah, I think actually the whole play was my infections all come from these stinking books. They weren't from the sewage. So that's what my theory is now.
Oh, very nice. Glad to have you back. We've also got Gray, the British expat in it's not Tokyo. He's just in Japan. He's not in Tokyo. But we were supposed to be talking last week, and we waited for 40 minutes for this damn stream to start. It never worked, Gray. It sucked.
I know. I was so disappointed. I go especially for it, Wes, because it's 11 p.m. my time in Japan, and I'm normally fast asleep by now.
Well, I do appreciate you taking the time out. Is there anything on the channel that people should be looking out for?
I dropped a couple of reviews last week. We had quite a few decent comics. There's a Destro issue 1 review and an Ultimate Spider-Man, and I like them both.
Yeah, Ultimate Spider-Man was a return to form with Marco Cicchetto back on art and some action.
How good is it seeing him back on art? And why can't they keep the main artist on a monthly book?
Yeah, you wish. Other than John Romita Jr., and even he doesn't do monthly. He takes breaks. But the Ed McGuinness has been better.
Yeah. ASM's twice a month, though, so you can kind of half understand it, can't you? But like a monthly book, you'd think they could keep an artist for one story arc.
You would hope so. All right, and last but not least, we do have Eric O'Sullivan, the Sultan of Soup himself.
Howdy.
Who looks like, what's the dude?
Hawkeye.
Tyler Durden?
No, I'm looking like Hawkeye from MASH. We just lost Donald Sutherland, a famous
thought you were doing Tyler Durden from Fight Club.
That's when the red jacket's on. So yeah, you got to mix it. You got to use your cosplay very effectively. You can cover a lot of ground with a simple shirt. All you just need are I need some khaki pants.
You could be the GI Joe dude with the Hawaiian
Chuckles.
Shirt. You could be Chuckles.
Yeah, undercover. Chuckles was undercover.
Mm-hmm.
You know that?
Yeah.
Did you know that year that Chuckles released, 87, there was no Snake Eyes action figures. So there's a great theory out there from Michael at Retro Blasting. He said that Snake Eyes could be Chuckles.
Well, Chuckles could be Snake Eyes.
Exactly. Think about it, man.
So Sully, you went to Boston Fan Expo. The previous week, everyone was out for Dallas Fan Expo. Last week, you were at Boston Fan Expo. How was it?
It was fun. I went all 3 days. I got a 3-day pass. I get them as soon as they release because you save $25, and that's a couple of comic books there. And that literally, I bet that was my comic books. I only spent $18 on back issues. There was like slim pickings because it's Fan Expo. So there were only 4 comics dealers there. And let me tell you something. I noticed this. There was no presence of any of my local comic book shops at my local Boston convention. I got 6 local comic book shops, of different houses. You know what I mean? Not even the small franchise chains, not the Newbury Comics and not the New England Comics. There are 5 other ones, and nobody, and no presence from the local comic book shops at the convention. So, is that like a meter of the health of this whole thing of ours?
Might be too expensive to get a booth.
Yeah, that's true too, huh? But H.J. Germain of Sigma Comics was there, dude. Sunday he was wearing a Thinking Critical T-shirt. The TC logo. Bam!
Very nice.
And but he was
you high-fived Heather Antos?
I went over to her and I said hello. I was a little bashful, you know what I mean? Sure, just because I am a.
You didn't say you want some chowder? Got some chowder in my.
I get some chowder, woman. Hey there,
here, my thermos here.
You wicked pisser. How's the Star Trek? How's the Star Trekking going there? I did go this. I said I approached her. I was like, hello, hi. I just wanted to come over and say hello. I looked her right in the eye, and she was like, hello. And I was like, how you liking Boston? She was like, it's pretty nice. And I was like, well, thank you. Have a great time. And that's it. And I walked over and had a great 5-minute conversation with Jeremy Adams and Peter Tomasi.
Really? They were hanging out together?
Dude, they were next to sharing a table. It went Tomasi, Adams, Tim Sheridan, then Dan Slott, Mitch Gerards, and then Mark Silvestri. Mark Silvestri had the biggest line in Artist Alley. It was very runty for comics. Like it was just like one hall, and of course all the artists are on the perimeter of the wall. Then you got your grid in the middle, and that was pretty much it for like big talent.
I would have sat on Jeremy Adams' lap and been talking to Peter J. Tomasi. He would have put his hand up my back, and I would have acted like I was a ventriloquist doll. We would have had a routine.
I told them about you guys too. I said, and I was like, these guys got me reading. They got me reading you, which got me back to the comic book shop every Wednesday. And I was like, your Flash. And I was like, thank you so much for your Flash. It fits with all the rest of my old Flash. Everyone loves your Flash. And he remembered me from the Twitters because I used my real name. And we just got along. He went to the Sox game. I explained to him our city jerseys, those crappy city jerseys,
City Connect.
Yeah, but it was a good time. I spent like $68 like on 2 bootlegged and 5 1981 fall Marvel books that were in good condition.
I remember, I think it was 2 seasons ago, they had the City Connect Kansas City Royals jersey. Mm-hmm. And because dipshits think that Kansas City is only in Kansas and not that the biggest part is in Missouri and that's where the baseball and football team are, it had like the 913 area code from fucking Kansas instead of 816, where the actual stadiums and the ball clubs are. You guys are dumbasses.
That's the chicken marketing's fault. Why do you think the New England Patriots go out there every Sunday looking like a high school football team with blue pants and blue shirts? It's the chick from marketing. It's all her fault. I said it.
The Patriots made a good change when they went away from the colonial, like in the 3-point stance. It was not a good logo.
I love it when Sully goes full Boston.
Thank you.
Very nice. Aaron Sparrow, welcome to the party, sir.
Hey, I'm sorry I was late. You know that thing where like late at night you can't fall asleep and you're like, man, I got to get up for Comics Aficionados tomorrow, but I can't fall asleep because my brain is racing. So you take a bunch of horse tranquilizers that for some reason you have laying around, and then you wake up in the middle of the night and you're kind of hallucinating and you're like, but I got to wake up for Comic Aficionados tomorrow. So you try to set your alarm while you're hallucinating and you set it for PM instead of AM, and then you wake up late and that's what happened.
That's a gym experience. That's
keep talking.
Absolutely.
I like it.
Jim's like, where did you give me more of these horse?
You wake up, your heart stops.
Tranquilizers.
they got to come in, and you wake up and they've got the paddles on you, and
you wake up, you're in bed with Tommy Lee. You don't know how that happened.
Loved ones are crying around you.
Not Pam. Come on.
Jim's like, I'm fine. I swear.
Get the paddles. He's flatlining.
Hit
clear.
They're like, no, Jim's fine. And Jim's like, you better get those paddles out. I need it. Hit me. Hit me.
All right, Sparrow. So you and I are going to be reviewing the Acolyte episodes 1 through 5 next Thursday on the YouTube. And on the Patreon.
I started. I thought I could binge through it, and I do not.
It's not a binge through it kind of show. It took me 5 days.
It is not. Yeah, it is a watch it and then go walk in the woods and just consider what it is that has just happened to you kind of experience.
Yeah, it's not exactly pleasant, but I would say there's worse things that could happen, but I can't really think of any. This is a worst case scenario, Aaron.
I think that I found Rebel Moon easier to get through, and you know how I feel about Rebel Moon.
Yeah, now that you mentioned, I do think the Justice League director's cut at 4.5 hours was a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah. This is rough. The things that we do for you, chat. I mean, the things that we will endure for your entertainment is that's why I have to take Jim's shtick. That's why I have to take all those horse tranquilizers.
Very nice. We do need to give a big shout out to a new Patreon backer this week. We've got Skeets, aka Hotshot, the protector of the Ashland. Thank you very much for supporting the channel, and I hope you are enjoying all the badass podcasts featuring Aaron, Jim, Doc, myself, 32 Flavors, and Nick Weiser, and we are going to open it up in the not too distant future. I got some plans for a couple more coming up, which I think are going to be a whole lot of fun. If you're interested in supporting me and the channel on Thinking Critical Patreon, there's a link in the video description. And we do have a few people locking in. Lane Kramer. So was Aaron comatose from watching four episodes of The Acolyte? Is that really what happened?
No, I have only made it through 2 so far. But I've taken copious notes, so this review will probably be like one of our better reviews because I have thoughts that I have written down. So we won't do the usual Wes and Aaron
I have
thing where we get into the
feelings.
weeds. Yeah, right away.
I'm all hitting my feelings on this one. It's going to be rough.
You know, we joked that it was Star Wars: The Lack of Whites. But now that the James O'Keefe story has dropped about how that is literally what is going on at Disney is if you are white, you need not apply. And if you are a straight white male, you especially need not apply. They are actively discriminating against you, which explains a lot about their current situation is, you know, if you've got to check a bunch of boxes and you're not being colorblind, you're not looking at who the best people are, who the creative people that are going to come in and who have the most merit. You know, if you do that, you end up with natural diversity, but they're trying to force it. And so they're getting people that are just judged on the color of their skin, not on the quality of their character or their resume or their work.
Adam Frey, who's up for some cooked rat a la Tom King tonight?
As a chef, it all depends on the freshness of your ingredients.
Why are people talking about the rat now? That happened a month ago.
Because I posted it yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah.
And it became one of my I mean, it's not one of my most viral tweets, but it went pretty far. Like it got a lot of attention.
Well, there you go. You're a month late. I've been.
I know, but like it's like, look, do you think that I rush out to read the latest Tom King story, or do you think that I get to it when I get to it?
Yeah. Callum Lyle, Tom King's queer baiting Diana and Cheetah, and something about eating a rat. The rat was her best friend that she ate. That was the sad part. She had befriended the rat.
And
you
should have made it a hamster.
But then it seemed like that rat's like wife came and was upset about it as well. So by the end,
yeah, there was another rat that showed up. I don't know about Diana and Cheetah queer baiting.
They
certainly do have a Tinder moment, but it doesn't look like they're going to make out or anything. It was just a weird. We try to murder each other for 3 weeks straight, but now we're going to hug it out, bitch.
I think that we're kind of like everybody's become like ultra sensitive because now, I mean, I even have normie friends that, you know, when you're watching a show and all of a sudden all the men leave the room and the 2 women are there by themselves, like nothing's even happened yet. And I have friends who'll like roll their eyes and be like, here we go, you know, because it's like just you're so used to it now.
Pants are already unbuttoned, right?
Yeah, it's like you're a handful of horse tranquilizers down, ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Jim's like, here we go.
Here we go, Tommy Lee. Let's go.
But, you know, I think everybody's just like super gun shy. So now anytime you even have like 2 female friends in a story or on screen, you know, you automatically think that that's where it's going to go because that's where it's going in so many of these shows. It's so cliche now. And then you read something like Scarlet #1 where you're like, oh, that's definitely what they're trying to hint at here. That's definitely where they're going is they're trying to put Scarlet and Jinx together. Because it's Kelly Thompson, and why wouldn't she? She just would rather be, you know. And that's another thing that bothers me is like when you put out tweets, you know, you're handed something like GI Joe, and you go out there and you pretend about how you care about it. And I know I'm going off here on a tangent, but you go out and you pretend that you care about it, like, oh, I'm so excited to be writing Scarlet, and then you can, you know, like we can search your Twitter timeline, and you've never once mentioned Scarlet or GI Joe, but you're acting like you're so excited about it. And the first thing you do is you come in and you try to make it what you want it to be, you know, and we can tell from your tweets where you're like, I'm writing this and this, but I'd rather be writing my gay space girl book. And you're like, yeah, that's what we need more of is gay space girl books. We don't have enough gay space girls or enough gay books at this point that don't sell. You know, we need to do some more of those. And you can't write that. So obviously you're trying to write it into GI Joe. That's a problem. Don't write your stories with other people's characters. Write, you know, look at GI Joe and say, what GI Joe stories can I write?
Galvin says, I hate every single person in the Acolyte. The actress is now up there, Brie Larson, She-Hulk actress, and Rachel Ziegler, and she hates her white dad.
Really? Oh, what did he do?
No,
He was white.
I don't. That quote was taken out of context. Not that she's like
no, she's coming out. She's coming out and she's doing the PR thing that her PR people are telling us to do. Talk about how oppressed you are. You know, it's very 2016. It's the 2016 playbook. And, you know, she's got people that are telling her to do that because she has lived a life of extreme privilege. She's a little rich girl. You know, she's never had to struggle. She went to a prep school. You know, just all of this is manufactured PR. And it's unfortunately they're still using a playbook that's outdated. They don't realize that the general public has moved on from this.
Next up, it says, in that Wolverine game made by the same Spider-Man people got a leak, and Jean Grey looks like trans and a tramp.
Sweet Baby Inc.
Well, Sweet Baby Inc. doesn't make games. They're consultants.
No, they come in. Yeah, they come in and ruin them. They basically extort companies and say, oh boy, sure would be a shame if we said that your game wasn't diverse and inclusive enough. So you need to pay us, you know, give us $7 million to come in and ruin your game by making all the female characters ugly and by making sure that we nerf everybody.
Dylan, you're the real comic book gamer guy. You're the one that streams games. Did you see the leaks? Were they good?
Yeah, they showed like some earlier stuff where Jean Grey looked like a normal person, and they showed like later on, with further on developed, and she looks horrifying. So there were definitely changes. Also, some like game dev came out and like confirmed basically what we already knew. He's like a very like far left game dev. He's like, I hate to say this because I'm giving the chuds what they want, but he's like, yeah, you can't just make like a pretty girl in the game anymore. He's like, they got to be grocery store aunties now. He's like, they've got to be not pleasant to look at. And he did like a whole thread on it. It was interesting. And Wolverine just is further in on that. And like Aaron said, it's right. Yeah, Sweet Baby Inc. will come in and look store to you. Like I think it's Wukong is the name of it, like a Chinese game that came out or is coming out recently, where they reportedly said no to Sweet Baby Inc. and then got a ton of hit pieces written on them because of it, because they wouldn't bow down to it. And so yeah, that's what they
They're
do.
probably gonna make some money off the chuds.
Yeah, most likely. But you get all these.
By the way,
go ahead.
Dylan, how do you feel about that guy saying that way though? Like, oh, I'm going to give the chuds what they want. Oh, you mean the people that have been right? You mean the buying public that has been right about this and has been saying this out loud, but you guys were too cowardly to push back against it. Now you're going to come out and you're going to let us know that everybody was right, but we're the chuds. Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, it's to be expected at this point. That's what I expect someone like that guy to say. But it's funny that it's like gotten so bad that even he has to come out and be like, "Yeah, this is bad." It's something where like every game, especially when their excuse before is like, the technology's not there yet, it's too hard. And then you look at like foreign games and you see that it's like
Lara
a 1-to-1
Croft on PlayStation 1.
Yeah, but you'll see like it's a 1-to-1 of like the model and then the in-game character. And you're like, oh, it looks just like him. Where over here you'll be like the model for like Mary Jane in the Spider-Man game. Very pretty, and then the model in the actual character model in the game does not look like her at all. What happened? We have the technology here. Sony's got the money. What's going on? Clearly, there's something that's happening here. It's like, oh no, it's just the technology's not there yet. And then you look like at a game overseas, and it's like, oh, it looks exactly like the person they based it off of. Clearly, the technology's there. They just don't want to.
Cyberpunk came out and was a disaster when it launched, but that still looked just like Keanu Reeves. They didn't have any problem. Did they improve it, Dylan? Is that worth picking up?
Yes, they've improved it massively. So good. If you haven't checked it out since launch, do it. It's a great game.
Okay.
Next up, Lade says, so how many issues is Venom War going to be? I looked at Marvel's September solicits. Why are we getting this just as 60 issues of Blood Ends Facepalm? I'm not sure. So it's going to be happening in Venom, but then I know there's 4 tie-in like mini series, but I'm certain it's happening in Carnage as well. I think Spider-Man is also tying into Venom War. It won't be 60 issues, but I would be surprised if it's under 30. Does anybody know? Jim, have you looked at it?
532. I last count. Now there too many. No, it'll probably be about 30, 20. Yeah.
I'm looking at leagueofcomicgeek.com, and they're nice enough to arrange the solicits by like.
Yeah, but it's not all the way to the end though, right? There's another month.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So far
it's 20 issues in 1 month.
It's 20 issues.
So it's probably more like 40.
So I'm looking at like Venom 36. It's part 6 of the opening 20 parts.
I have not heard anybody say they're going to be reading it.
Yeah.
Venom's not been a good book.
20 issues of this?
That's 20. That's the first 20 issues
in 1 month. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna be 40.
Is there anybody who could just get a hold of Dan Buckley and just slap him repeatedly? Like, what are you doing? Yeah, well, CB Cebulski too, but like all these guys, like, just what are you doing? You have no idea what the audience wants or how to, even reach them anymore, and you just keep flooding the market with shit.
But what
I
about
just- I
my
can't even
holofoil
believe it at this
variant
point.
cover?
What about your interior variants?
Next up, Cal says, "Did you see that stupid music video from the Acolyte? Seriously, why is it always mixed people who are so desperate to be oppressed?"
Well,
I
they
think
get
that's
mistreated by, generally, I think they get mistreated by the racial group that they're trying to identify with. If you're half, like there is some, and especially like, your light-skinned blacks. And I have friends who said that like they do get a fair amount of crap. So, but you can't come out and say like, hey, why am I getting all this crap from this side? You got to come out and you got to blame white society.
I don't know. I didn't see the music video, but it sounded bad.
I like her spirit. I mean, that's the spirit of the youth. She's a young person. They push back. They got something to say. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, yes or no. I don't really care one way or the other. But she's got pluck. She's cute. I like the cut of her jib. Keep going, girl. You slay queen. And I mean it this time.
It's unfortunate that she can't actually act. But other than that, you got everything going for you.
Wes, can you kick Sully?
No, I don't.
Ow!
I don't dislike the girl. I don't know who she is. I've never.
No, I don't dislike her.
only
I don't
saw
dislike her either. And
The little
like I said,
insert thing. I think she's a terrible actress. But other than
no,
that,
she's really she's not a good actress, but at least not in the Acolyte. But a lot of people have been good actors or actresses in other things, and then been in a Star Wars project, even a George Lucas Star Wars project, and not been a good actor in it. But she is young, she is dumb, she is getting fed a lot of BS, like I said, by PR people and things like that. Maybe eventually, she'll have a real coherent thought of her own. We can only hope.
Brandon says Amanda Stenberg also on horse tranquilizers. How wouldn't?
If you had to work with Leslie Headland, wouldn't you be taking handfuls of stuff?
Maybe. Jack Halsey, thank you very much. $100 super chat. Very, very, very generous. Hi, all. I think if you read Nightwing 78 through 82 and 114 through 118, it will be a pretty good 10-issue story. My problem is the 31 issues in between. I will not be reading any more Tom Taylor. Wes, a little something for your trip next year. Take care. Well, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. And we will be booking the tickets soon, although I was told to hold off until July 1st because I guess the fuel some type of extra charge is going to drop dramatically next month. So we're going to get the tickets to America on July 1st. Really, really excited. The kids are all getting excited. And we'll definitely try and do something like go to a comic shop in the Kansas City area and see if there's enough people to warrant like a little meetup or something. Maybe that'll be a lot of fun. Did you read this week's Nightwing, Dylan?
No, I dropped off a while ago on Nightwing when he just kept killing homeless people and had like 200 hearts, and Nightwing was just busy like fighting cops and like stopping graffiti and helping homeless kids steal from the pedestrians of Bloodhaven. That's when I was like, I'm good.
I think Jack is onto something here because it's actually gotten kind of better now that he's decided to actually do something with Heartless rather than just having murder people and amass his own army, while Dick Grayson does fundraisers and erects statues to Alfred Pennyworth.
That's good to know.
He's still not going to take down Heartless himself. Even the solicit for the last issue says that he gets all the help he needs.
Oh, yeah. I bet you it's Babs.
No,
it's
it's Haley. It's the dog.
Haley. It's going to be Queen Bee, the Pirate Queen.
The Pirate Queen.
Oh, it is going to be
Oh,
B.
good call.
It's,
Oh.
gonna be B. It's definitely going to be B, and everybody. You'll just have the Titans, all that, because Nightwing can't do a damn thing himself. And Jack, I would say I wouldn't even get to 82 in that first bit. I think 78 to maybe 79.
Why did you guys read this at all? It completely violates the character of Nightwing. It completely turns
Because we're
him.
comic book critics. It's our job.
My favorite character. I've reviewed every issue of Nightwing since the New 52. So
Jim
It
loves
turns
Dick.
him into
a lot of
true.
stuff.
It's not as bad as Rick Grayson. It's much better than
that
Rick
was
Grayson.
pretty bad. Yeah,
Like-
yeah. And the Grayson series that was okay at first. That got a little wonky, but I'd say 78 to 80. It started getting wonky very quick.
You know why they did Rick Grayson, right? Just because they knew that everybody would hate the name change and they would protest it and they would demand it get changed back. And then DC,
It's
could
new
say,
code.
What can we say? Our customers demand Dick.
Yeah, that's what happens. We all
Yeah.
want Dick.
So Dylan, I never wanted to be reminded of the Rick Grayson story arc. It was terrible from the beginning. Ben Percy tried to do it. Scott Lobdell tried to do it. Dan Jurgens couldn't save it. And he keeps stuffing all the Rick Grayson stuff in here. I never wanted to see B again in my life.
I don't think anyone did. I don't think anyone cared about that. I don't think anyone has any nostalgia for the Rick Grayson era or him being a cab driver or any of that. So I don't know why.
She started out as a bartender, and then it turns out she was a pirate princess and heir to the pirate throne of Bloodhaven, and her name was Bea Bloodhaven. Then it turns out she was an agent of Spiral and also an agent of, what was the other one, Jim?
Oh, what's that?
She was an agent of Spiral and an agent of
Yeah.
What was the other?
Oh, it was, yeah, because it went back and forth. It was that whole deal. I can't remember exactly what it was now. I was
But she's
reading the
literally been
comments.
4 things now, and
She's
all
the
set up
ultimate
so she
badass?
could, yes, so she could spy on Rick Grayson or something.
Yeah. And her mom
so
was
bad.
the deal, and her mom's still alive. And
Seems like he
So
had a lot of
ridiculous.
unnecessary things, like having Tony Zuko's daughter and
Mhm.
Dick Grayson be half siblings, which was just, I don't know why we need
She's
that.
still the
Mm.
mayor.
yeah.
That I
Mm.
remember I hated that issue when Dick's just a dumbass. He like crawls through the window, gets his ass beat
Gets
by
his
like a bald
ass
woman.
handed to him. Yes.
Yeah, and then is captured, just immediately gets his secret identity revealed, and it's like, how is he so bad at this? Yeah, because he only fights crime with money at this point. That's why.
Well, he also gets his secret identity revealed in this latest issue, but it makes a little bit more sense. And he's been framed. Well, I don't want to go too far into this.
Yeah, it's pretty good, though. It's
this
pretty good
week's
spoiler by
Nightwing-
the end.
If you wanted to jump back in, this might have been the time to do it.
Yeah.
Now, Callum then says, also that Superman and Lois SJW cartoon, most from what I've heard is the dialogue is bad and no one knows how to write a straight relationship. I haven't been watching the, is it The Adventures of Superman or whatever it is?
My Adventures with Superman.
That's the Josie Campbell cartoon. They've got a comic book. Are you watching that one, Dylan? You know you're the big Superman guy.
I watched the first couple episodes of the first season, and then I fell off. I just didn't care anymore. It was really bad. I watched till the Lex episode, and it was just really bad. And I was like, I don't care. And also, I'm not the biggest fan of Jack Quaid as Superman. I don't think he's got the best voice for Superman. And yeah, it just wasn't very good. And every time I see a clip on Twitter, it looks awful. So I'm glad I fell off. I don't need that. I don't need to be watching that.
They
I'd rather
cast
see
Jack
the
Quaid.
terrible Doomsday from CW, Lois and Superman.
Yeah, but at least he had Sam Witwer on that one, dude. He's wicked pissa.
Absolutely. Yeah,
My
I haven't
humble
been checking
opinion.
that out either. Cal, lastly, that J.J. Abrams Batman cartoon is DOA because it's him. And I heard Harley Quinn is Asian in a gay relationship with his cop set in the 40s.
Yes.
You hear something like that, you're like, this dude is just trying to be funny, but it might be real.
It's my elevator
Maybe.
pitch. Listen to me. I've got a pitch for you.
And
I
listen,
thought
guys,
they were trying to
stop
make Lois
praising.
Lane Asian. Wasn't that the
well,
thing?
Yeah, they do that too. Why not just do it all? Like, and by the way, guys, stop praising Bruce Timm. Anybody out there, just like Bruce Timm is not, look, the art style for the Batman animated series was decided by Glenn Murakami. So if you want to give credit to the art style for him or for that show, give it to him. And yes, Bruce Timm can draw well in that style, but he's not responsible for any of the things that you love about those old cartoons. That is all Paul Dini and Glenn Murakami and the other guys that worked on it. If you've ever met Bruce Timm, he is a miserable person to talk to or to deal with. And he's just running out the clock on a career at Warner Brothers. But come on, like just give the credit where it's due. Look at every project he has done at Warner Brothers without Paul Dini and how bad they've sucked.
My goodness, shots fired. I love it. Next up, Calendar. Finally, Calvin says, Eric, don't defend that Sith.
Wow. Listen, pal. This is like Richie Cunningham standing up to his best friend, Arthur Fonzarelli. Hey, listen,
Bucko.
pal.
Sit on it,
buddy.
Sully.
Up your nose with the rubber hose, Mr. Cartier. No, I
I don't
hear
take
ya.
stuff that like celebrities say seriously, so I don't really like look for it. So I don't even know
I
what's
think it's-
going on. I just know
I think
stuff
it's
is
an
going on.
Yeah, there's an inherent unlikability to modern young people, like especially
That is true.
girls. And listen, this is an allegory. I'm going to
It took
upset
me like
everyone.
4 episodes to take to Dylan. I was like, this
It's like
fucker.
Like all you people out there getting upset about Galadriel and that Rings TV show, you don't realize that that's the unlikable teenage girl that it grows up to be. You know,
she's in
Kate
her
Blanchett.
30s, dude. She's an adult.
No, she's the same age Kate Blanchett was when she played her too. I know
Exactly. Let's not.
But she's got a couple of thousand years to grow up and turn into that, like, Galadriel. Think about it, man.
Finally, Aaron, is Grace Randolph inbred? Oh,
I don't know. I don't have any evidence of that.
she's
I don't
got a
know.
scratchy voice.
No, Grace she's a rich girl. Daddy's got money. So
Yeah.
I mean, I can. Yeah, big
Dude.
time. And but listen, when I worked with Grace, like Grace is not a mean person. She's actually very nice, but I will say that there is a emptiness that I always kind of felt from her, and kind of a just kind of like not being an entire human being. I don't really think that she forms relationships with people. I think that she forms opportunities with people. And so this channel and she sees praising Disney and sucking up to Disney as an opportunity long past the point that anybody else has seen that. Like, everybody else sees it for the crumbling empire that it is, and calls it out. But she still sees some benefit in it, so she's still going to be on the side of Disney and on the side of shilling, because that's where she sees her bread being buttered. As soon as
Maybe
her
she
bread
just
is
doesn't
buttered
like
somewhere
Star
else-
Wars, but she likes shows about witches.
That's true. That could be true. I don't think there's anything in any conversation I ever had with her or anything I've seen from her since that suggests that she was a huge Star Wars fan. I think that Grace is only the most surface fan of really any of the stuff that she covers. So, it's just, that's the perspective you're going to get.
Man, it's time for her to make a move to the Mary
So-
Sue. She'll fit right in there.
So
Have you read the Wikipedia article that makes you our expert? Because you read the whole thing. You didn't just read the introductory paragraph. You read the extra stuff.
Plug into the Rachel Leishman machine and have your opinion downloaded so that you can write an article.
The actress who plays fake Galadriel can't read. She admitted in an interview and she can't act. She's a lost cause.
Aw,
But there's a Tempest in her.
she's kind of cute.
She can read.
She's not
Otherwise she
kinda
wouldn't be able to
good.
say the lines.
Dude,
So
I'm
what are you
Irish.
talking about?
I'm Irish. That kind of woman is beautiful to me. Lack of chin, curly hair, a
Lack
little
of
bitchy.
chin.
She's not unattractive. She's perfectly fine. But people's standards for attractiveness have gotten wacko.
Weird.
I don't know. It's like, but just because you don't like Brie Larson, you think she's ugly? No, it's perfectly fine.
No, I don't
She
think
doesn't
Brie
have a
Larson's,
butt.
I don't
She
think
doesn't
Brie
need
Larson's
one.
ugly. And when
She's the
she's Envy
prettiest-
Nice
Adams,
face.
when she's Envy Adams, I think she's actually hot.
Yeah. The Galadriel lady looks perfectly fine. I don't know if she can read or not, but I assume she can because she says the line.
She looks perfectly fine. I'm not saying she's unattractive. I'm just saying that she's not like Hollywood attractive. We need to get back to Hollywood attractive.
Yeah, I like Chicago thin myself. There's LA thin and there's Chicago thin. Then there's Southie thin, which isn't you don't want to go there.
Then there's Minnesota thin.
Dude.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin's a fine state. I don't get this. Wraith X7. To be fair, Grace has said that Lucasfilm should include more male characters in the Acolyte.
Yeah, but that's
Why?
also undone. That's also
Why would there be more
why?
male characters? There's first of all, there shouldn't be this many Jedi. There's 9 of them working together. Why would you need 9 Jedis to trace down one person? You need one. The Jedis are that powerful. Why are there 7 of them? Why are there 10? I don't get it.
They've told us that the High Republic is the height of the Jedi when the Jedi were at their best and they were at their most powerful. And every character on that show is weak and stupid and just the worst version of any Jedi I've ever seen. You can't just tell
They're
us
not
that this
Jedi.
is the era
They're
of
not
the
Jedi,
best
Aaron.
and not show us.
They're
I don't
galactic
think the
police.
show needs more male characters. I think it needs better writing and a story that makes sense. And then we've got something to start with. You know what I mean?
You actually need less characters, less
Yes.
male characters, less female characters, because you can't focus on anybody. And if you here's just story writing 101. If you've got 3 characters in a story and the first 2 you're like, I know exactly what they're doing, and then you're like, what do we do with the third character? You need to cut that character. He doesn't need to be there. He doesn't need to go on the adventure. Sometimes you just write a story about Darkwing and Goslin, and Launchpad doesn't need to be there. Sometimes it's just Darkwing and Launchpad.
What does Yor do?
Goslin doesn't need to be there.
I don't know what Yor is.
He's the himbo, I guess, right?
I don't get it. It's weird. Retro Man, have you guys been reading Garth Ennis on James Bond 007? It's as cool as you think it would be. I read the first issue, and I did not buy into it, Jim.
Yeah, I read the first issue and didn't like it either, but Greg just told me last night that he really enjoyed the way it ended, but I didn't like the first issue.
I've been buying
and I'm not a huge 007 James Bond guy. I'm glad Gray's not here to hear that. He'll probably get really upset because he's British. But I'm not a big 007 guy, so
Gray's British.
I like the
and he's in Japan, just like James Bond was in the one where Sean Connery wore yellowface.
Okay, I liked the Philip Kennedy Johnson James Bond story before that, just because I thought it was a good story, not because it was specifically James Bond. You could mess up James Bond beyond recognition; it probably wouldn't bother me because I wouldn't even notice. That's how little I'm kind of interested in the character. But the Garth Ennis Get Fury book is awesome.
Yeah,
my opinion.
Yeah.
We'll have to have Gray give a little rundown on James Bond 007 from Garth Ennis when he gets back. Callum, hideous on the inside. She did admit she can't read and had to have lines read for her. Oh man, that's
she has severe dyslexia and ADHD, so it's kind of shitty to make fun of her for not reading.
I mean, that's a tragedy if somebody can't read, if they get through the system and they can't read, or and if she got that far into life and she became an actress and she can't read, that's a struggle. I can't even.
They pulled her out of school early too. I was just looking it up because she was having problems.
Jim, don't you have severe dyslexia?
And ADHD, yeah. I just can't read the room. Is what that's what I get criticized most for. Is that. So yeah, I got through it, but it is tough.
And then
legitimately, I mean, just saying, when we do comics and things like that, Wes, I have to read 10 comics. That will take me hours. So I do struggle.
And I knock out a comic book every 8 minutes.
Yeah, I can't do that.
I have to go fast, unless it's really good. Or it's that last issue of Get Fury, and I'm so confused by the twist. I have to read it 3 times just for it to finally make sense. All right, I'm going with it. Callum says, and everyone knows that scene with the witches was a fetish. The Night Sisters from Clone Wars know basic biology and have male slaves to have kids.
But that was when Star Wars was still overseen by George Lucas. That was real Star Wars.
That was Lucas Star Wars.
Yeah, this is everybody gets their fan fiction recognized Star Wars.
It reminds me of that episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation where they kidnapped Riker and an away team to get genetic samples because they were clones, and they ran out of they're Xeroxing the same copy over and over again, so it's losing fidelity. And that's what happened to Star Wars. They just photocopied Star Wars and they're taking Sharpies all over it. That's it.
That episode of Star Trek photocopied Multiplicity, man.
Yeah.
So Sully, I'm a Star Trek fan as well, and I've always liked Riker on The Next Generation. Not as much as Jean-Luc Picard, obviously, because he's the star. But I've always noticed when he walks, I can't take him seriously as an officer in Starfleet. It's so dainty when he would walk away. It was like he was bouncing.
Riker's walk away. He is bouncing away because he's going home to sleep with his wife, the lovely Jeannie Francis, who we know as Laura from General Hospital. I mean, they've been married for 40
weird
years.
bouncing.
Where's Luke?
He doesn't matter. This is real life. He's the happiest man on the planet.
All right, Greg.
Wes, isn't made up for the fact in the manly way that he takes a chair.
Well, yes, that's what I'm saying. He works in every aspect except walking away. He's too bouncy.
That guy mounts a chair like a boss. If a dude walked into a room and did that with a chair, I'd be like, oh, he's the alpha.
All right,
hey, look, Greg. I got to make up for Doc today.
No, you don't. Greg, you read James Bond 007 for Garth Ennis. I read the first issue. I didn't love it, but I'm not a huge James Bond fan. We've been told you might be the guy to talk to.
I read the concluding part 6, and it made pick of the week for me. Yeah, it was a really good finish.
Is it a really good book?
I don't know.
There we
I was
go.
saying to Jim, I think we need to read it as a trade. It probably read a lot better, in one go.
Yeah.
The monthly thing didn't work with it.
Right.
Okay, so you're not surprised that I was turned off and didn't go back to it.
No. I dropped it after the first issue, and then I got back into it from issue 4.
But I liked the Philip Kennedy Johnson story before. I thought it was good.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
decent. What about Vita Ayala? We've seen that in the chat. You tell you what, mate, you got to read Vita Ayala's James Bond, then you'll really appreciate Garth Ennis's.
That's that would be awful.
You read anything, Vidal, you will appreciate everything else. This is the deal.
Speaking
Definitely
of people
wanna
who can't
say-
read.
Yeah.
Thank
yeah.
you very much to everybody for supporting the channel. Really appreciate the super chats. Now it's time to get into the real show. We had big breaking news this week. Jim covered it. I covered it. Probably everybody covered it. Gray, you're a big old Spider-Man fan. Are you shocked that Marvel are canceling the Zeb Wells Spider-Man run?
I'm shocked that it's taken them so long to cancel it, to be honest. But I think it's not so much him. Whereas I think it's behind the scenes. I think it's not mainly, but Nick Lowe is a big part of this, and whoever's running things supposedly. Yeah, I think they're the ones to blame. You've got to get rid of him as well. Get rid of Nick Lowe, or nothing's going to change.
That's the big problem, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know, when I started this run, I gave it a fair shot. I was enjoying it at the beginning. The Tombstone story I thought was decent. But after that, it just seemed to slowly in slow motion jump off a cliff, just keep falling. Never recovered.
No, not really. And then Dylan, I know you're not the biggest Marvel guy, but you come in on the big stuff with the characters that are important. They said there's this big explosion. It's Spider-Man's fault, and MJ hates him, and Aunt May hates him, the Fantastic Four hate him, Captain America hates him. And we never even got a proper resolution to that. It just ended up being this stupid mystery that meant nothing.
I don't get this whole thing. Like Gray just said, I don't know why it took so long, because I've only read a single issue of this run, and the one issue I read was when I was on this stream a couple of weeks ago, because Wes said we're talking about this issue, so that's the only one I read. It was okay, and all I ever hear, because I have a lot of Spider-Man fans in my community, all I ever hear is them talk about how much they hate this and everything going on with it, and Paul and everything. So I don't know why it took so long to finally cancel it, because especially when Ultimate Spider-Man came out, and it's the formula is so simple. Spider-Man fans aren't exactly hiding what they want from Spider-Man. You know what they want. So why are we continuing with this thing that no one wants? It feels so weird. But at least we finally getting to it. But we still don't even know when it ends, because they didn't announce the final issue. So it's going to be a fat minute before we get Zeb Wells off of it. We actually get a new creative team. So who knows how long that's going to take. But at least, there's something to look forward to. We know there is eventually an end. That's finally confirmed. I like that.
Yeah, and then we get rid of Paul. That's what we hope. But yeah, that
Or-
resolution when they, he blew up York, PA, and I was waiting for the parade they were going to give him to congratulate him at least on wiping that piece of crap off the face of the earth. But the idea of it, though, by the end, what can he do even if you get rid of Paul, which I do believe they will? There's even a dimensional gun type thing set up that could do that, but it still doesn't get rid of the idea that Mary Jane was with Paul and ended up, and really like Gray said about the idea that you're still going to have Nick Lowe. But I'll say the idea, even with Nick Lowe, even with the editorial wanting something, you can still have good stories. I mean, Zeb Wells has just gone on and doubled up the awfulness, because we've had, Dark Web with sentient mailboxes. We've had Rec Rap. We've had Paul, all these things, and it just hasn't been good. I mean, it's just there's not much good in it. Gang War was terrible. Didn't do anything. And most of his stories end up with no weight to them. Even this Goblin Spider deal, you repeat what you did 6 months ago and actually made it less, because all of a sudden the psychoactive sexy goo from Ben Riley Chasm ends up solving it, and boom, he's back. There was no weight to it. It's just like ideas he throws out, and he gets stuck between trying to be jokey and dark all the time, and it just doesn't work. It hasn't worked.
I get it. I mean, I haven't been completely disappointed with it, though. I mean, I'm not walking into this as a monthly buyer. I will pick up an issue here and there. I love John Romita Jr.'s art, and I've loved his art. I loved him being on Amazing Spider-Man for over the past 40 years. I mean, that's just, for me, that's amazing. All right. And I like to see his style evolved. He's not everyone's cup of tea. He's got some flaky stuff in this. But then you also got that really nice Todd Knox stuff. You got that great Ed McGuinness stuff.
Is good.
I mean, a lot of the art here, and it's just great fight scenes. Everything's toyetic, too. I mean, I think Spider Goblin, that's going to look like a great action figure. I'm serious.
It's already been an action figure. And it's better in action figure form because he
really
was a better design.
I mean, because it's just, and I liked, the McGuinness flair and the Knock flair to this stuff. It's cartoony enough that it sells it.
I'll tell you the one thing about that though is it's the biggest, whether or not it sucks. There's that whole play of it's still the biggest book in comics, and it should get the best artist. You can't give it a benefit because the biggest book in comics gets great artists. And John Romita Jr., I know you love him, Sully. There's been a couple issues that I enjoyed, but he's a little past. It's nice to have him on, but it's not. You can't say that his art's the best in comics right now. Ed McGuinness stuff looks great, and Todd Knox stuff looks great with it. But again, the biggest book in comics should be able to get a million artists that are great. It shouldn't be a struggle with it. But when you're reading it and you get done a Spider-Man issue and you say, well, at least the art was cool. That's not good. But
I'll give you this much too, because it's like Zeb. I'm like I said once again. I'm just walking into it. I've been a reader of ASM all my life, so it should be fun. It should be easy to get into. So I feel like this ASM is engineered for the normie, not for us. And also that Zeb Wells he has got good ideas for stories, but he just can't land them. It seems like at the end of every one of his arcs here, he peaks really well and then just can't land it. Especially, I was so disappointed when Peter got stabbed with the goblin spear, and then he would put on the black costume again, and he was a little evil. And that really reminded me of why I liked Raimi's Spider-Man 3, Emo Pete. I'm one of those idiot fans that enjoyed that. So I mean, like, I like seeing Peter just a little mean. That was great, but he couldn't.
You liked emo Tobey Maguire?
I did.
Yeah. Just the whole story, and now when he's like, it seems like he's trying to justify everything. Like all of a sudden, Miss Marble's back in the book, and that didn't need to happen. And again, this whole Goblin Spider thudded, and everything is not set up. You end up all of a sudden, even though it was a thing, but all of a sudden you keep hearing Winkler Machine. And then all of a sudden, that's the be-all, end-all, not really explained well. And then Miss Marble's in it, then you end up having just nonsense. And
what about the goo?
I said the psychoactive sexy goo. I mean, in that picture, it does legitimately look like Spider Goblin is getting Chasm up the poop chute, and then he goos all over him. I'm like, this is the sexiest damn comic I've ever read in my life. And it just was ridiculous, though. And again, the psychoactive goo was a thing, but we haven't had it in so long. To use that as the almost MacGuffin to end it, and just end it with the snap of a finger without explaining anything, is ridiculously bad writing. I mean, it really is. But yeah, the goo.
It was such a bad moment. It looks like he squeezes his head like a pimple.
Yeah.
But instead of dying, goo comes out of his eyes and turns him back to Spider-Man. And all of a sudden, his costume is Spider-Man again.
Yeah.
Even though it was purple and green a frame before. Nothing makes sense in this book.
No, really bad.
It's been very frustrating to read, Jim.
It has been. It has been for a while. And again, though, it's the biggest comic. And people, that's the whole play, is it still sells. But it sells because it's Spider-Man. Yeah. But I would say that when they start crowing, and Dan Slott's a big one crowing about sales, that when you say it's the biggest comic in comics still, you're not also telling us that it used to sell 120,000 an issue and now it's 70, because all of comics has degraded.
But it's not the biggest comic in comics. Transformers outselling it every issue. Ultimate Spider-Man's outselling it.
Here's the thing: what they say is 2 issues a month, so it's outselling all the books. But that's kind of a skewed number because of 2 issues a month. But it's still one of the biggest ones. And I don't.
It's certainly still one of the biggest ones, and Batman's still one of the biggest ones despite the quality. But I've seen I'm seeing it dipping in the sales charts. It's not doing as well as it was, and other things
Well,
are taking its place.
Even at the point, if you go back to Nick Spencer's deal, and when they had the big to do about Immortal Hulk being the big book, and it was outselling Batman for that little bit, you ended up having Spider-Man was in like the low 80s and was like, you know, 4th, 5th in the deal, but it's still up there. And it's amazing that this book, because it's Spider-Man, and but it's starting to get less and less, and that's why I think they are ending the run. But it is too long a run. Just to think that he got this many issues to do nothing is infuriating, and it's one of the reasons why
a lot of
they
going to put on it, Jim? They can't put Zeb Wells on it. He's already doing X-Men. He's already doing Avengers.
Well, they talked about, like, a lot of people, even I saw Gray put in the chat, some people are starting to think that Joshua Williamson might be on it because of him backing off those. Yeah, he doesn't care. The guy has like 7 million books. Now, he said the idea, and we'll get to that, I guess. But, you know, you have him. A lot of people wanted Chip Zdarsky, but he said he wouldn't do it. But
he said he won't do it.
It'd be a crazy coup to go from Batman then off to Spider-Man. Yeah. I even see people saying Al Ewing. If that's the case, I will never read another issue in my life. But there's other deals.
Ram V, Jim. Ram V for the win.
Ram V, done.
Awesome. Ram V Spider-Man. A slow burn.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the slowest burn ever.
And here's where you
I'm
get
not the same Spider-Man I used to be.
Where I think that you can really see the troubles with comics. Where, I mean, I even saw somebody like, how many books can people say Jed MacKay should be on? How many books can people beg for Jeremy Adams to be on? There's not that many big writers anymore at the big two. So you end up wanting a guy who's doing 17 other books to do the next book, and you just can't do. That's the problem with Joshua Williamson. He was on too many books. There's just not a lot of people. Maybe, you know, some people are even saying like Donny Cates coming back, but that seems to be a banned thing that he can't. I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer. There really is.
That's a rumor.
I don't think Donny Cates is coming back.
No,
I don't.
He burned them pretty badly.
Yeah, but maybe he could be on one of the books.
I'm expecting Rico Tamaki.
Yeah, that'd be.
Oh, really?
That'd be a hoot. Teeny Howard.
Give me
I don't
Warren
think I
Ellis.
even go with Teeny.
Danny
Warren Ellis
Moore,
is
right?
Warren Ellis is blacklisted.
I know. Give him a job. It's time
Someone
for him
was
to come
saying,
off the blacklist.
Cy Spurrier at the chat. I was like, no, please.
And here's the thing: when we end up seeing who it is, you're going to be able to see: is it a legit writer, or is it a yes man or woman just to do what Nick Lowe says? I mean, why don't you just have Nick Lowe write it then? Because if you're going to get good, like I said earlier, you can end up where they follow Nick Lowe and the Spider Office's deal, but if you're a good writer, they can still get good stories out of it. Whether or not we're getting exactly what we want, you could still get good stories issue to issue. But if we get somebody, you know, like a Marika Tamaki or something like that,
we need just Grant Morrison Spider-Man.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
I think he's out west.
Spider God.
And again, I think that his problem would be is Nick Lowe would say, we want that. And he'd be like, because I can't understand what he says. And that means go screw yourself, is what it is.
Haven't we got Scottish people there?
Oh, there. I can't understand the thing he says. But yeah, there's some, like, when we start talking about who we would want on, we're really starting to just like pull names out of the hat that we know can't be. I mean, you know, what's it called? Alan Moore. Why don't we just yell that out? You know, who knows? Stan Lee, is he around?
Jeff Lemire. I've heard rumors he's going to DC on a couple of titles.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know who you would get. People are yelling Nick Spencer back, but you don't.
That would be the one that would get me excited.
Yeah,
because he was actually doing something with Spider-Man, and he actually accomplished a few things. And while I do think he was a little bit too much of a cock tease in his Spider-Man run, where he would get to something, and then he would go tell another story, and then get back to it, and get to another point, and get. I thought he did that a few too many times because he was going to do 100 issues or whatever. It was still good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a stretch. There was a stretch that got a little bad. A lot of people were yelling about that sucking while it was going on, and then suddenly, you know, this happens, and it makes that look great. And it's just
Gary Redmond's got the best choice. If you need somebody new that's proven to be good that could do a Spider-Man character, Ryan Parrott would be the one.
Oh,
yeah.
Robert Venditti, where's people shouting in the chat? A big favorite of yours?
I don't think Robert Venditti's going to be headlining a major book for anybody, but I don't see him moving.
No, sadly. Don't think so.
Why do you think that is, Wes? Why do you think that people aren't getting on the Venditti train? He's solid in everything that he's done.
I don't know. They didn't really promote his Green Lantern book. They didn't treat it like it was a big deal. I'm not sure why the people don't get as excited for Venditti or Jeremy Adams or even Peter J. Tomasi before him.
And that's the thing. Jeremy Adams and a lot of people, it'd be great, but he just isn't a big name and doesn't sell a lot of comics, and that's a problem. I don't know why.
He doesn't sell a lot of comics when he jumps in, but over time his numbers go up.
Yeah, but they don't go up like
word
tons,
of mouth.
you know.
Well, Zeb Wells wasn't a big name, was he? When he took over ASM, was he?
Did Zeb Wells get everybody excited when he took over ASM?
No.
Nobody cares about Zeb
He was coming
Wells.
off Hellions. I was excited.
Yeah, people thought that it might be a little
Oh.
better because of Hellions, but that's like the one anomaly. It's going to be Cy Spurrier, and I'm going to jump off.
But I didn't realize he'd already worked on She-Hulk in this Marvel.
Does his name, so Zeb Wells' name, do you think that puts any more butts in the seats than Jeremy Adams' name would? I don't think so. I think Jeremy Adams comes in with at least as much credibility as Zeb Wells. I think he comes in with more.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think either of them have a big name.
You get the Robot Chicken audience if you get Zeb Wells.
And he was already on Spider-Man, and that's where that whole Paul stuff.
He did a lot of
Spider-Man
Spider-Man and Carnage and Venom stuff. He did Spider-Man and Wolverine. Joe Mad on art. You gotta remember that.
Yeah.
And I remember the Joe Mad art being great, and I don't remember anything else about it.
It can't be Dan Slott, though, right?
No. Come on.
It can't be. They wouldn't do that to it.
I hope not.
I think he's actually said because he couldn't do a 2-a-month series. There's no way. Like,
I think you
might
have
as well
to
call
come in-
Christos Gage right now and start penning him in for 3/4 of those issues.
As bad as everybody feels about this current run, I think that if you have a brain in your head, and we don't have a lot of evidence that Nick Lowe does, but if he has a brain in his head, you got to come in with somebody who's like a dark horse candidate, but who also has some name recognition and is good. So
I'm expecting Jerry Duggan. They gave him X-Men. Does that get you excited, Jim?
No. I'll still end up reading and reviewing it, but it wouldn't.
Jerry Duggan with Brian Posehn co-writing with him, maybe.
That might be okay. Yeah. It'll just be Deadpool dressed up as Spider-Man, but that'd be okay. But
Teeny Howard,
and again, it is the weird thing where you look and I'm reading the, in the chat while we're doing this, and so many people like the idea of who would you want to write a new book, a current book, and people have to jump back 10, 15 years to writers that we haven't
Peter
even heard
David's
from in a
my
while.
number one. How's that? But he's in the hospital, unfortunately.
Yeah, he and people end up not realizing how bad off he still is. He's learning to do regular functions, it seems, just yet. I get, this newsletter thing from his wife from the GoFundMe when he first went in the hospital. And things aren't improving the way that I think that he's going to be writing anytime soon. And that is a shame because he was doing some awesome stuff, too. Tevye wants Tom King. We could have Tom King do the deal. Joshua Williamson, I'm not the hugest fan, but he actually would be an upgrade. I think that he'd be decent enough.
A huge upgrade.
Yeah.
He doesn't write anything bad. He just doesn't write enough good.
Yeah, it's just kind of there, but just kind of there might be
too many
better.
books, though, isn't he? It's too many at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, on grading on the curve, just not being terrible is pretty
Would be a huge improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James Tynan.
No.
He's not coming
back.
back.
James Tynan. He's not that good.
That's the thing. We've talked about it with people talking about these
Marvel
big things and stuff like that. There's a lot of big writers that we could mention that have already said that there's no interest in writing these characters anymore, or writing for the big two even, and that's a big problem. Again, I always go back to when I first was on the show and said, "Oh man, we got to get better writers here, here, and here." And I think it was Doc said, "Well, which writers? Name the right." There are none. So it's tough, and I hope it's not somebody that, I hope it's somebody that we hear and we say just, okay, that's okay. But you're afraid it's going to be like, oh my God, this is going to suck, and that's the worst.
That's the problem. Is the only names left in comics make you groan.
Yeah, they make you groan. That's a problem. It's a big problem. And the ones that don't are already on indie stuff, like the Energon stuff, Ghost Machine, like those.
Or they're writing they've gone off to write cartoons.
Yeah,
or,
they've gone off to do other things. Yeah,
TV
so
shows.
it's tough. Tim Sheridan.
All right, Dylan, you're the audience that they want. You're the right demographic. You're young. You got plenty of life ahead of you. What's it going to take for Marvel to make you an avid ASM reader? Who's it going to take?
Dylan's not gay enough to be their audience.
Well, maybe. No,
Not quite. I would like to see Kyle Higgins. I'd like to see him give it a shot. That's who I would get me excited. I'd like to see what he would do with Spider-Man. I think he could do some cool
Ryan
stuff.
Parrott would be great.
Yeah.
Somebody said J.D. Warren Johnson. Yes, that would be the dream. But he would only do it for 6 issues or maybe 12, unfortunately. He doesn't do any like long-term projects. But J.D. Warren Johnson's awesome. You even picked up Transformers, right, Dylan? With DWJ?
Nope. Did not.
You're still not reading Transformers.
No, I've never
even though
cared
it ties
about
into G.I. Joe.
Nope.
But you're reading on G.I. Joe stuff.
I'm reading G.I. Joe, yeah. I'm reading all the G.I. Joe stuff. I've not read any of the I've never cared about Transformers. It's never been my thing. The only Transformer comics I've read are the G.I. Joe Transformers crossovers, like Devil's Due Publishing stuff and all that.
Aaron, we need an intervention on Dylan. What do you need to say to the man to open up his eyes to the Transformers universe?
To the Transformers universe? I mean, just this Energon
tied into G.I. Joe now.
Pretty good intro, but I don't know, man. We got to sit him down and make him watch the old school cartoons and get him into Transformers, the movie, the animated one. Wash that Michael Bay stuff out of your head.
We got to get him a toy gun, and starting with a Walther P-38 that transforms into Megatron.
Exactly. It looks like a real pistol that you could rob a bank with.
It's an actual scale-sized gun. And it's a bad guy because it was the German gun that the Yahtzees would use in WWII.
Listen, the truth is, and Cobra Commander has one too. Like he's got a Walther P-38 that. No, I'm sorry. Cobra Commander has a Luger in those in those old school books. It's easier to get people into GI Joe than it is to get them into Transformers.
G.I. Joe's
despite
better.
the Transformers toys being more popular,
unless they can't pronounce some of the names, right?
Well, GI Joe has a longer, solid run of comics. The Transformers comics get pretty wonky pretty fast.
Yeah.
Even the old Marvel series, only the first 24 issues are really, really good.
Exactly.
And then it kind of starts to go off the rails, and there's good stories here or there. But they very quickly moved into the era where Hasbro was saying, you need to kill Prime because we need to sell different toys.
We need toys, yeah.
Yeah, so the comics quickly move away from the characters that you like. Yeah.
And did you hear Skybound is collecting all the Marvel Transformers and GI what was it? It's not GI Joe Transformers. That's in the GI Joe Compendium, but it's just like the GI Joe Compendium by Skybound. They're doing. I think it's going to be about $75. Issues 1 through 48. Is that Aaron? In the annuals.
It might be. I haven't heard exactly what's in it yet. But yeah, they are doing it. They are doing a collection. 1 through 48 is probably really all you need.
Or is it 44? You know what I mean? It's the complete run of that of volume 1 of Marvel's The Transformers. And I'm like, I love that stuff. I was a kid buying that stuff. That was great.
There's some great stuff, even when they would go to Cybertron and you'd see Blastar and the smelting pool and all the stuff that they did there was fun stuff. When they brought in Predaking, there's great moments throughout, but it does not have the solid run that G.I. Joe had with Larry Hama there every month.
Larry Hama's still going. We got this week. It was still good.
Well, he has to work until he dies because he doesn't have enough retirement to actually retire.
Gray had a completely different Transformers story over in the UK. There was it was in one of those weekly magazines, and it was called Transformers UK. And Galvatron was bug shit crazy. It was wonderful. It was off the wall. Its own continuity.
Those are the comics that introduced Death's Head. Which I love. He was a bounty hunter in the Transformers universe before he came over and was in
Great,
Marvel.
You missed all this.
I didn't read it. I was reading Battle Action Force, baby. The UK version of G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
That would be cool too to check out.
All right, well, let's
the Red Shadows.
Oh yeah, man, those original designs, I love those.
Hopefully they get a new writer announced soon. We got Tommy reviews. Hail Comics Aficionados, on my way to Garden State Comic Fest, going to see the Pie Made himself, EVS. I've caught up on the Energon verse finally, and Scarlet issue 1 was okay, but why the hell is she tied to Storm Shadow? That's the big question, Dylan. Can you answer it?
Because they want to see her beat him up, be girl boss. That's my bet. That's the only reason I can think about it.
Is she replacing Snake Eyes?
It seems like it. I don't know why she has a big connection to Jinx. They're besties for some reason, and now she's gonna join the Rashikage clan for some reason. She's a big get.
Hmm.
She's acting like she's like the
She
biggest free
destroyed
agent out
40
there.
ninjas at one time. That would be a huge get.
She kills them all, and she's like, "You need me. You want me." And they're like, "Yes." And so they take her in, and now she's gonna beat up Storm Shadow, and it's gonna be annoying. And the biggest crowd.
Her and Jinx are more than besties, Dylan.
Yeah, there's
That's the subplot, right?
implications of that. We'll see what they do there. But all that stuff aside, the dialogue was so bad in that book. I hated the dialogue in it. It was like reading that book. It didn't feel like real humans talking in that comic. And our first introduction to the Arashikage clan, which I love the Arashikage clan. Everything about them so cool. And it comes from Kelly Thompson in a Scarlet comic. Like that's our first introduction to them in this new universe. It's like why? Why are we choosing to waste
Did you
so
like
much
the
potential?
Arashikage thigh tattaoo?
No, that was that was dumb. That was I was not a lot of the Energon stuff's been really cool, but this was definitely the first miss for me. I was not a big fan of the first issue of Scarlet.
But you thought
was the
Destro brought
second
it
miss
back.
for me.
Destro was fine. I didn't dislike Destro, but I didn't really care for it either. I thought Destro like was fine. I thought it was all right.
I thought it was boring. It wasn't terrible, but it was boring.
Yeah, it was just like it was fine. I didn't find it offensive or like good.
It
or
was
bad.
pretty good. I just didn't like the art very much. But it was better than Scarlet.
Well, I mean,
Much better than Scarlet.
not hard to do.
It wasn't a comic that I felt like I wasted my time reading it.
If you've read one Kelly Thompson comic, you've kind of read every Kelly Thompson comic. She doesn't bring anything new to the table ever.
No.
Oh, yeah, how did you feel about me and Wes talked about this for a second on the Patreon, but how did you feel about the random throwing of like this is how she gets her crossbow? She just found it on the ground after beating people up. That felt so unnecessary and dumb.
It's
like,
it's the Han Solo thing, you know.
That
how did Han Solo get his his classic gun? Oh,
I said the exact same thing when me and Wes talked about it. I said it was like the Han Solo name. Where it's like we don't need to know how he got the last name Solo. That's just his name. They throw it in.
Yeah, and even like it's like, hey, how do you get his gun that you hey, guy threw it to him? Oh, okay. I'm so glad we know that now.
I assumed that she went and qualified on it, and the army was like, "You're now qualified to use this crossbow." Like everybody else does when they qualify on weapons.
Her dressing down the general was such a feminist writer moment. You know, it's like you don't understand how the military works. You didn't bother to do any research whatsoever. You just wanted to have this girl boss moment where she tells the authoritarian white guy what's what. And it's like, yeah, she'd be court-martialed. She'd be done. She'd be, you don't get to talk to your superior officer that way. Sorry.
There's no chain of command to being a girl boss. That's what you don't understand.
That's true, Dylan. You got me there.
Yeah, that whole issue was just, and we knew it coming in when it was announced that Kelly Thompson was going to be the writer on the Scarlet book. You knew this was going to happen, and then everyone's fears were confirmed, which is because like you're hoping maybe she'll like accidentally write a good comic, but no, we get
because these writers they only operate on one thing. You get to Kelly Thompson, you're going to get girl boss and lesbians. You get you hire mags, you're going to get a trans story. It's like they're one trick ponies. They can only write one story, and no matter what character they're given, no matter what universe they're handed, no matter how rich it is, they can only see that one story. How do I tell that one story that I care about in this universe?
I've noticed this one repeating fight scene. I noticed it over at Birds of Prey as well. It's like the rooftop. It's a double page spread splash, and it's the hero fighting gauntlet style, with after images of them like going through like in a ribbon over the 2 pages. And I was like, hey, I saw this in Birds of Prey too.
Yeah. Next up, Calv says, I still think Paul was a self-insert, and Wells still gets hate comments on social media, but he got the recognition. He got recognized the easy way. But Ultimate is DOA.
Ooh.
Ultimate Spider-Man was good this week. I thought it was pretty good. I think it's still the top-selling comic book in the industry right now, but I don't know. Paul is I don't know what Paul is.
He's a dick. That's what he
This
is.
reminds me of Sully. It's
He's
like,
terrible.
why did they put Paul in this
He sits on the couch with his hoodie.
And he
just
needs the
does
affirmation,
bullshit.
and he needs to let the girl drive the car. Yeah.
Anytime,
You're that
anytime,
boring.
like,
Why would
for
you
a while.
self-insert yourself?
anytime they call him out on something, he like starts, I was in the bad dimension and my father did this. He always ends up getting all upset.
Such a nothing character, like an empty character. Totally.
Well, it could be
If
just
he
a
doesn't
big-
turn out to be a husk that is like,
I
being
mean-
manipulated by like a bunch of insects. Who was that spider or the wasp chick that
The Shadow King.
No, the wasp chick that Spider-Man fought during Straczynski's run. If this guy doesn't turn out to be just a husk filled with wasps
Oh my god.
that are trying to be
Right.
human, I don't know what we're doing.
3 small guys with a trench coat. That's what I do. He's trying to get into R-rated movies and then buy liquor.
Yeah. It could work. He's had like 8 different faces so far.
Yeah.
But thankfully, Wells was smart enough to quarantine that character to Jackpot and Black Cat.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't smart enough to
Yeah.
not do Jackpot.
Well, he wasn't smart enough not to create him. That was the problem, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, or do Jackpot. Sigma Comics, shout out to Thinking Critical team from Garden State Comic Fest, New Jersey. Support Thinking Critical now and always. Volume 4 Calico manga still on Kickstarter. Head on over. Tell them Wes sent you. Absolutely. Congratulations. It sounds like you got to hang out with Sully last week. The week before that, you got to hang out with Aaron and Drew and all those guys. And now you're at, yeah, you got to hang out with you. He's at Garden State Comic Con.
I didn't go to Dallas,
Hanging
Wes.
out with, what's up?
Oh, he didn't go
I
to
didn't go to
Dallas. It was
Dallas.
so important that he had to brush off his friends.
No, I was so broke that I
I'm
started a
just
normie
kidding.
He's at a
job.
trade show.
I'm kidding.
I couldn't
But
get
yeah.
the time off, as it turned out. I started.
I didn't say Aaron, did I?
Well,
Yeah.
HH, tell
thought I
Cecil
said-
I said hello.
No, you named me. You name dropped me, man.
Oh, my bad. I thought I said Josh and Drew and the gang.
I'd love to hang out with
Mhm.
the Sigma Comics team, man. I want to see his sales pitch. I want to see how HH does it. I want to see how he draws people in. Like I hear it's legendary. He's selling
He's
books
an
left and right.
enthusiasm. He's a magnetic. People come right up to him because he's got an interesting product. He's a good pitch man. Like last year, his table was next to Dan DiDio's, who again is an excellent pitch man. So you got these two people, basically, selling their wares in the marketplace, and it's like really interesting because it's like they're good at their jobs.
I love the idea of them seeing each other and like their eyes narrowing, and then like that song Showdown starting to play. Like who's gonna outsell? Who's the better pitch man? Gonna.
A little showdown? I don't think so. From what I understand, they're buddies. They're friends.
Yeah, but like who has better competitive competitiveness
shtick.
with each other than buddies?
Better spiel.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely, if you're going to be in Jersey at Garden State Comic Fest, go check it out and say hi to HH and the fellas, and go see the Pie Man himself. Late Graber, so Eddie, hype for From the Ashes weeks away.
the what?
X-Men From the Ashes. That's
I
the
know, I've
reboot.
just been being jokey.
Oh.
Yeah, Wes and Doc have to suffer through that. I do not care.
I don't.
I'm below not caring.
I'll read them, sure, but I don't care.
Jim, are you excited?
No.
Dylan, are you even going to
Once
check
it
out an
comes, I'll
issue?
read it.
Probably not.
How about you, Gray?
Nope.
Sounds like there's no hype for From the Ashes. Maybe it'll be good. Hopefully it is. I'm rooting for him because I would
with
love
low,
some good
with
X-Men.
low expectations. They can only aim high,
Exactly. I was expecting nothing from Batman Offworld, and it's been good.
Nope.
Well, I expect the art to be good.
If
but
it ever
the story-
finishes.
Yeah, what's happened to it? Where's it
It's
gone?
delayed.
The hell?
I was expecting nothing from Avengers Twilight. That was pretty good. So I like being surprised. Delici, okay, you guys figure out what happened last week. Yes, StreamYard was being an asshole, and we couldn't get it to go live. And it looked like there were lots of other people trying to use StreamYard at the exact same time that were having the exact same, like there's too much congestion, try again in 30 seconds later, message that we were getting. So apparently it was across the board for a time. I tried it a couple of hours later and it worked, and we were able to record Best of the Week with Drew. So by that time it had been alleviated, and I haven't seen any issues like that since then. And it's not something I've ever experienced with StreamYard, and I've been using StreamYard, I believe, for 5 years now. So it was unexpected, to say the least. And I was not very happy about it because we just don't miss those shows here. I always try to get everything done on time. Caleb says, people need to quote AZ, Babyface, and tell you're boring, and yell you're boring at Kelly Thompson, Tinny, and all this stuff.
Boring.
You're boring.
That's how he does
You're
it.
bollocks,
You're
mate.
boring.
What would be more hateful if you were British, Gray? Would it you're bollocks or you're boring?
Your boring isn't hateful. Yeah, it's very very mild. You're a load of bollocks. How about that?
Is that what I? You're a load of bollocks, yo.
You bloody poncer. A punter. A punter is someone that pays for it. A punter.
What if you called them a goose?
A cheeky monkey.
I know the
cheeky
bad words
whippersnapper.
in Great Britain that you're not supposed to use.
Yeah, there's one you could use. Yeah.
You don't say fanny.
You
What are they?
bloody slags.
Oh, there you go.
Bugger
All the
off, you bloody
Americans are
son.
like, what the hell did that mean? And all the British, like, their jaw would be on the ground. Like, you can't call women that. That's the C word.
But yet they use the C word. That's fine.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Oh, there you go.
The dude calls you
boring.
when you're in Great Britain. It means that he probably thinks you're buddies.
I don't know any of these words, guys, you're talking about. I'm a perfectly, good
some
good boy.
Well, give us some cross culture here. What are some good Japanese? What are the worst insults in Japanese?
Oh, they hardly have any. It's so weird.
Is this
Yeah.
You don't work hard enough. That's what I heard.
Yeah, get back to work.
What is it?
please.
Lollygagger.
That's
What's
true.
your mother-in-law call you? That cipher there.
Yeah.
She probably likes him. Gray's a
Great
perfectly
job.
respectable, handsome young man. He's probably the jewel of the family at this point.
Aw.
Very nice. Tevya, question, is Ultimate Spider-Man outselling ASM? By every indication that we have, yes, and it's outselling it by quite a bit.
Mhm.
And has been from the first issue and continues on at least through issue 5. I think that's when the numbers that we do have. And Transformers is also outselling ASM. Sometimes Batman is outselling ASM. And then if you have any of these weird nostalgia books, they tend to outsell ASM on the first issue, like a Thundercats, Team T will do it again. But Transformers is the one that has the staying power that keeps doing it. So it's been cool. Although I think Ultimate X-Men was also outselling ASM through the first 3 issues. So that was weird. Because those haven't been good.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Wes, can I ask, ASM, how many people are actually reading it who are buying it? There's that about it too, isn't there? The people, so many people I've heard that buy it, loyal fans, and never read it, just bag and board it. That's it. Just collect it. They want to have every issue. How many are actually reading
You got a
it?
complete run. You don't
Yeah.
want to break it.
Yeah.
Not even for Zeb Wells. If you stuck through Dan's slot, maybe you want to just keep going.
If you suffered through Nick Spencer, you're gonna.
Nick Spencer was good.
Yeah.
Although he did give me comic book blue balls a couple of times. But certainly Ultimate Spider-Man outselling ASM. Callum, if people did call them boring, what would happen? I don't know. They would take a picture of a milkshake and put it on social media?
And then
Pretty
milk
sexist.
that for years and years and years.
My milkshake.
What did they do to you, Dylan? Didn't they get you banned from a comic book shop?
Yeah, I got kicked out of a comic shop that then shut down a couple months later. So
See, irony.
they're not too good at
Hubris.
business. Turns
What did you
out.
do, Dylan? What happened?
Yeah.
You really talked to the wrong people.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, I said the wrong things on YouTube, and that found its way into the real world.
You serious?
He said
No way.
at the time, he said something like, "I don't think that your boy Zach is a monster."
Yeah,
That
I said I was excited for Jawbreakers, which turns out is one of the worst comics I've ever read. But I said I was
Really?
excited for Jawbreaker. Yeah, it was awful. I was excited for that because I'm a big GI Joe fan. GI Joe was awful at the time, and this looked like GI Joe. I was like, "Oh, this looks cool." I made a video about it, and then I went to my local comic shop, which the person who ran it looks the way you expect them to look,
Uh-huh.
and then I
Sexy.
got
Pink
pretty
hair,
much.
nose ring.
Yeah, but like the sort of like pixie cut, like pink hair, just
Uh-huh.
exactly how you'd expect them to look. And I went in, I was like browsing the comics while they were checking someone out. Waited like 5 minutes. I went and I was like, "All right, ready to check out." And they're like, I can't serve you. Like I'm not you can't buy anything here. I've been told not." And I was like, "What?" And then I recorded about 30 seconds and I left, and that was it. 'Cause I wasn't gonna cause a big stink about it. I was like, okay.
You should have said, "You're boring, mate. You're boring me."
Effing pronouns!
Bollocks!
You got a septum piercing. How predictable. You're boring.
Make him like a poofter!
You've been watching too much As, you guys, Aaron, Eric, come on.
I barely watch any As, but like he's so
Got a
like,
great impression. You got it
he's so
down,
distinctive,
mate.
But you can nail that impression right away.
Oh,
Definitely would have thrown her off if I just became British randomly.
My go-to is always to just suddenly become inexplicably Australian.
It's a good move. Solid move.
Hello,
No
there.
bloody worries, mate.
What is going on here?
Shrimp on the lobby.
Well, now you've got to do it, Aaron, because I've heard a really bad Australian accent from Jim. I got to hear something better
Yeah,
than
that was
that.
terrible, Jim.
Fuck off.
Lois used to like to go into Outback and be like, now the Alice Springs chicken here, is this authentically the way they prepare it in Alice Springs? Because I'll know.
This
there
is
you
a
go.
knife.
Here's my German accent. This is a knife. There you go. It works out.
You
German.
sound
was
like you're from
multi-talented.
DNN.
Pearson says, any thoughts from the panel on Falling in Love on the Way to Hell? It has my attention, but I've yet to grab it. Cheers. I think the name is stupid and too long. Although there are things that Jerry Duggan has done that I've liked in the past. It's got a cover that looks very much like Star Wars. I have not read it yet, but it was on my to-do list, but I wasn't able to get to it. But I'm sorry. My goodness. Gray loved it. That's
Gray
who
loved it, yeah.
It was one of my picks of the week that week. It was a surprise because Jerry Duggan, right? You're never sure what you're going to get with him. But the art sold it for me. The art is really good. I can't remember the artist's name off the top of my head right now, but it's really good. Really good to look at. Not your usual style. I mean, it's more of an indie style. A little bit of Daniel Warren Johnson vibes to it. Very kinetic, very flowing. Lots of martial arts in there, so I like that.
Did it feel like Star Wars? Because Star Wars is all about martial arts and kung fu now.
No, it didn't actually. No, the cover looked like a kind of the Japanese classic Star Wars poster. A kind of nod to that, though.
Very nice. Fatal J in the house finally woke up to see his stream. What a panel. What up, chat? Fatal J is on
Fatal
fire.
J.
Time
He
6.
is.
Mr. J in the house.
He's on Yellow Flash all the time now.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
cool. That's a big show.
How you doing, Jay? You good?
You
He's also
Genki?
got the Dark Council, or what it is. I think it's the Dark Council. No, Fatal J's everywhere. The dude is a hype machine.
He's
I don't know why Doc
international.
doesn't like him. It's weird. For all the people that don't like Doc, he doesn't like him.
I thought
People
Doc
don't
was,
like
I thought
Doc.
Doc was the most beloved
Really?
person on the most beloved guest on the
Yeah.
channel.
He's a channel mascot, isn't he?
He's polarizing.
Yes, he is.
He's what Star Wars The Acolyte is supposed to be, where 50% hate him and 50% love him for some reason, whereas, Acolyte is actually 99% hated and 1% love. It's kind of weird. But welcome to the program, Fail J. Good to see you, brother. Been a long time. We've got to get into Josh Williamson quitting Batman and Robin and Green Arrow. Dylan, you are the DC Comics aficionado. Williamson has been a workhorse for DC Comics for a long time. Certainly was getting a lot more acclaim for his G.I. Joe Energon universe stuff. His DC stuff outside of Superman has gone very flat and very boring for months now.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move to get off these books. He has way too much going on, so I think it's a good idea. I'm happy to hear that Green Arrow is going to continue going, though, because when I first saw the headline that he was going to leave, I was like, oh, no, they're canceling the book, aren't they? Because I want Green Arrow to have a comic going on, so I'm happy it's going to keep going. Hope we get a good creative team there. But, yeah, I think it's a smart decision. He's definitely juggling a lot right now. He's going to stay on Superman. He said he has big plans for the next story arc for Superman after Absolute Power, so we'll see how he does. But, yeah, he's a guy who I think is generally pretty solid, but he gets a little bit too big sometimes. But when he can focus on something, I think he does really good. Like his Black Label Rogues books, I thought was great. I love
That was
that
great,
book.
wasn't it?
Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
like when he can really like concentrate and focus on something, I think he does a pretty good job. I think his Flash run overall generally was pretty good. His Superman run's been pretty solid, but he gets spread too thin sometimes. Sometimes he gets a bit too big for his britches and like tries to go too big with things. But when he can focus, I think he's pretty good. One of the more solid comic writers out there now. So I think it's a good idea to drop off these books and focus on some more things. So. Yeah,
Yeah, and he was doing, I think he did, oh gosh, what was it? What was the thing after Future State, Jim?
He's not good with events, is he? Basically.
No.
Oh, that was Infinite Frontier.
Infinite Frontier,
Yeah.
and then he did Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then he did Night Terrors, And now he's doing House of
And-
Brainiac.
and
Hopefully that one ends up bad, or good. But
I'll agree with Dylan. I think one of the things though that happens is he kind of forgets what he's been writing and ends up getting distracted, changes things up. I mean, even that Infinite Frontier, at the one point we had Roy Harper as a Black Lantern, and we never saw anything from that. He does a lot of things that just end up getting dropped, and then I think that he is one of the worst enders, finishers in comics. His finishing things suck. They're
he's
terrible.
no Mariano Rivera.
No, he's not Mariano Rivera at all. He's not even Al Holland. He is really, really bad at ending things because I think he gets distracted and changes stuff before the end, and then you end it in a way that just it just happened in Batman and Robin. You ended up having all this stuff set up, and then all of a sudden it's the cult of Man-Bat. You end up that never made sense. You have to wave hands to get out of things, and then everything just falls. But he's a really good character guy, especially with something like a Damian. But even that Green Arrow book, which I do love the Green Arrow family as well. I know that Wes wants to get rid of all families.
I want all the families gone. There's too many families.
The idea of having a story that was supposed to, bring back Green Arrow from the death of the Justice League when he got stomped by Doomsday. And then it ended up being Merlin with time travel tech given by Amanda Waller that ended up in another dimension and bring back. It never made any sense. So
I'm glad I have you to explain this to me because that went all over my head until right now.
It was all over everybody.
I had no clue what was going on. Seriously.
But I'm with Dylan. I want a
that.
Green Arrow book. I love Green Arrow, so I love the family, and I want to have a book. So I hope they get somebody. Who
it started well as well, didn't it? It looked promising the first few issues. But then
first 6 issues I think are good.
It seemed like he tried to he wanted to explain things, but they didn't need it in weird ways, and it just ended up.
Next thing you know, you're tying in Heroes in Crisis. You're like, come on, man.
Yeah, it got very odd.
Yeah. So who do you want
Dylan.
back on the book, Dylan? You want Andy Diggle? You want Ben Percy? You want a new voice?
If we got a new voice, I'd like to see Tomasi on it. If we got an old voice, I'd like to see. Oh man, what's his name?
Lemire?
Lemire would be cool, but
And the biggest problem already,
Judd
Tomasi
Winnick.
can't
I'd like to
do
see
it.
Judd Winnick come back to comics and see him do Green Arrow again. I think
Judd
that'd be
Winnick.
cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was a fan of
approve
Green
of
Arrow run,
this.
so I think that'd be cool.
Tomasi's exclusive to Ghost Machine, so he can't do it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
Now that
not
Sinister Sons is over,
Yeah,
he said he had to finish that book.
yeah.
So bring
What
back
was
Judd
that?
Winnick.
Jeremy Adams.
Obviously, Jeremy
You
Adams.
always say Jeremy Adams or
Yeah, that's like I
Robert
said.
Diggle.
Everybody always says that.
But they never get the book, so it doesn't matter.
I'd like Kyle
Jeremy
Higgins,
Adams
like,
the JSA stuff.
Earlier, that Dylan brought up Kyle Higgins for the deal. I don't know that he'd do a Green Arrow book, but I'd like that as well.
Yeah, he'd be
If
cool.
you could take Chip Zdarsky and take his Batman stories, but put him in Green Arrow, I think they would fit right at home.
I don't want to see Green Arrow fighting a big robot. I'm good.
Losing his hand, his other one. Oh no.
Yeah.
no. You didn't read the Batman and Robin, did you? Oh, you're lucky. I love Damian Wayne. And Josh Williamson's Robin series is really good.
Yeah,
And I love
stuff. Yeah, it's cool.
Listen, I'm gonna step in here. The book was not good. The characters were great. That Lazarus tournament that led into Lazarus Reign was a bunch of bullcrap. It never
I
made
like
any
Mortal
sense.
Kombat.
Never made any sense. And at the end, I'm telling you, half the people they won't even remember who won.
Who won, Jim?
Yeah, I'm
Who
waiting.
won? Who
to
won?
hear.
Wes?
Flatline, right?
That's what
No.
I asked you.
No,
Flatline.
Connor
It was,
won.
XXL.
no, Connor won.
Connor Hawk or Connor Kent?
Oh yeah, that's
Connor
right.
Hawk won.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. Nobody remembers who won the big
It wasn't
tournament.
meant for the tournament. That's just a setting.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The story itself was terrible. The character work was
Well, it's
incredible. And it looked great. I mean, the character work was incredible. But that book went nowhere slow. It did nothing and then was canceled. But he's great with the character stuff. He's really great with Damian. He's one of the best writers of Damian.
Until Batman and Robin.
Even then, Damian himself was good. It's just that everything else around him made no sense and just did nothing. And also at the expense of Batman in that book. That Batman did nothing.
Williamson shouldn't be allowed to create female villains anymore. He just makes like a female version of an established hero. Although I think Shush is a fine name for a female villain, but You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
Shots fired.
again, a lot of people claiming in the chat that that book was fan. Nobody could tell me what happened in that book with the Lazarus Planet deal leading into it, and you
What are you
had the
talking
whole,
about? I had Damien's grandma. They were going to unleash the fucking dragon.
The idea of the whole demon changed because they tried everything changes in those books. It was
Not you,
nonsense.
Jim.
But
Can I be serious?
That's
I
the
forgot.
reason we got the Lazarus rain, man.
I forgot all about Lazarus Planet, to be honest, with Gotham Boar and
the Devil Nezha, but then it was also it just was nonsense. But the characters were great. Double XL, I loved. I want more of him. His
I
hype
want
man
more
and stuff.
fucking Big Rig, man.
Yeah.
He's
That'd
so
be
good
show.
in that Kneel Before Zod. 2 panels, and I fell in love with the character. They killed him right off.
Yeah.
Do we need an XXL Big Rig team-up book? This is the big question.
Yeah,
Did
and
you
even then,
react?
Flatline, people
Right,
are.
well,
I
so.
love Flatline. I thought Flatline was great, but in the Batman and Robin,
got a sister?
it got pushed down a little because all of a sudden she had a sister. It wasn't as unique. You ended up saying, just keep her with Lord Deathman, have fun with that, and just go nuts. But it's just an odd deal.
Yeah. I'm just glad. I am glad he's still doing Superman because I've really been enjoying Superman. Solely, I think it's a pretty good thing. I think House of Brainiac's going fine. I'm not excited for Gail Simone taking over action, but Superman's been good. And you need a good Superman book.
Oh God, Gail Simone taking over action.
She's got Superman experience. She's a superstar.
What do you think it's gonna be? You think it's gonna be a really good Superman story, or do you think it's gonna be dated anti-humor and foodsy woodsies and all the things that we get from her now? Like, it's just
Superman versus Meishi.
it's going to be Lois's book.
Nah, it's probably going to be a Jimmy Olsen story or something stupid like that. No reason to go against character or type, right?
it just makes me sad.
Come on, Eric. Mr. Positivity. Come on. What do you think?
I know
You're gonna give...
the big rumor is Williamson. Everyone's trying to say that they think he's going to ASM, but the big rumor for a while has been that there's going to be an ongoing GI Joe book in the Energon universe.
Yeah.
After these miniseries
I
are
think
done,
he'll still be doing that.
Makes sense.
Yeah, he's doing that. It's called Codename GI Joe, right? It's we got a preview for that.
Yes.
Williamson is not
yes.
going. Williamson is not going to ASM. I can tell you that. That is not.
Ooh.
There you
Other
go.
things going on too. I mean,
Arrow has tweeted.
has anyone out there read Dark Ride on Image?
That's okay. That's pretty good.
It was fun. I really. This is another Williamson.
You said Jeff the Land Shark was fun. Don't be using words like that.
The proper lens from a certain point of view.
Wait a minute. Is Sully sus? Is he sus like Gabe?
Susly.
You can expand your horizons. You can like some stuff. You know what I mean?
Sultan
I
of
like
Sus.
lots of stuff. That's why we do best of the week.
As a chef, I'm telling you, stinky cheese can be quite tasty.
Man, that's like one of the worst things that ever happened to me in England. Was I didn't know what Stilton was, Gray.
Oh.
I was like, oh, I got a chicken with Stilton cheese. It sounds delicious. It turns out
Said the
Stilton
magic
is
word.
rotten cheese.
You said Stilton and your power went out, Wes. What
Yeah,
you
it
doing
looks
now?
like Batman's about to take down Wes.
Yeah. I guess I should mute so you don't hear
That
my
blue
ups
cheese is
matter.
dangerous, mate.
When
Yeah,
I was
dangerous.
when I
We
was
can't hear
in
it, Wes.
England, my grandfather he wanted to have me eat blood sausage, and ended up I'm like, I'm not eating that. He's like, oh no, it's just a name, and then I'm eating, and it's like, no, it's not just a name. It's
of blood pudding, love.
And I'm like, oh my
Blood
god.
pudding.
Yeah.
Oh my god, my mom and her sisters would fight over that in my Irish house. They would remake that too. There's white pudding and black pudding, and the black pudding is, that's the coloring is blood. It's blood pudding.
Yeah.
And, it's just they would burn the hell out of it.
Big
We have
English
holy
fry
food.
up.
Holy
But
food.
a blood sausage is kind of like a blood clot, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sounds delicious.
Oh,
You
iron.
used to eat your scabs when you were a kid, right?
Oh.
Your boogers.
I remember I was
Give-
eating blood sausage and
Give you a blood
Aide.
clot if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Jesus.
If you're ever in England for the first time and you see the menu and it says Stilton cheese, avoid. Means rot, apparently, in the Old English, the Queen's English. That stuff was rough. All right, Tommy reviews. I'm curious, has anyone read, is it Yaira or Yara? Because I've been...
Yaira.
It's Yaira.
Yaira,
no.
number what?
Haven't read it.
I've not. I'm overseas.
No,
I have not read it, but I understand that she delivers death blow.
She sounds like Brigitte Nielsen in Rocky IV. You say?
The live action trailer was super cringe, but it was
Uh-huh.
like a Neil Breen level kind of.
Yes, it
experience.
was. Oh gosh. Oh, you just that was very succinct. Neil Breen is go watch some Red Letter Media, and you find out about him. That's great.
I don't
Whereas
know.
I'm-
Like I've never read anything by the Saska sisters. So apparently
No,
they
I
wrote like,
haven't.
Black Widow. They wrote a Black Widow miniseries, and apparently they've made some real creepy movies.
So,
But yeah, I've
have I.
never. Mhm. Have you read? You've made some really creepy movies, Sully, or or you've written Black
haven't we
Widow? Which one?
all? Haven't we-
Really? Sully.
I mean, I know Jim's hanging out with Tommy Lee, so maybe
Yes.
maybe there's some movies there. But
And Nikki Sixx, maybe.
Nikki
I-
Sixx
I'm
sounds
like-
like a chick.
I didn't get any.
Sounds
Yeah.
like no. Nixie Six is
No,
freaking
nobody.
a musician. What are you talking about?
I know, but like
yeah.
when you hear the name Nikki Sixx,
Yeah.
you think it's going to be a chick, especially when
Ricky
you start
Rocket's
spelling it.
coming over later, drummer from
Yeah.
Poison. He'll be over later.
CC
All
DeVille.
right. It sounds like no one's read it yet, but like I said,
Yeah.
I'm overseas. It's
No,
hard
man.
to.
I mean, did
Same
you?
here, Wes. I can't afford
Yeah.
$30 for postage.
Yeah, let us
Yeah, it's
know
like
when
35 or 40 here.
Yeah,
I've
it's
never
crazy.
actually even heard of
3
it.
months.
I don't know. What is it? I have no idea what it is.
I'd love to
Riververse.
read it and give notes.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. I would
everything,
not. I don't know.
everything I see that comes out of the Rippaverse, I'm like, let me just give you some notes on this and fix some of these things.
Yeah, can I borrow a copy and let you know about it? As like, it's just I'm just not. I buy these things. I love buying these like crowdfunded things. Technically, it's not a crowdfunder. You know what I mean? It's like more of a clearing.
It's a pre-order, yeah.
Yeah, it's but you know how I feel about digital assisted art in the first place. So I don't like that janky look to begin with. And
But you liked It's Jeff, so.
I do, but
Jeff
you know,
Blanchard, yeah.
because he keeps it's a minimalist thing. That it's Jeff's stuff. It like evokes like old Sunday funny pages, though. You know, at least it has
Yeah.
some. At least I have a reason to have an appreciation for that. It's not the best thing in the world, but it made me smile for a moment.
Okay.
you
I
know?
liked Jeff up first when in the West Coast Avengers, and then it was in like
Mhm.
7 million other issues.
Yeah.
Every Joe Thompson did, it just kept popping up. So
You're
All right,
right.
Max and
fellas.
Josh liked it. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right,
We've
fellas.
got time for one more topic if
Got
you
it.
want to do it.
Yes, please.
Oh, I don't care about this topic, so I think I'll bounce out. Oh wait, Skybound GI Joe Phase 2.
What are you
Okay,
talking
now I
about?
care.
You don't
Now I
care
care.
about
I saw the other. I was looking at the other topic. I was like, I don't care
Famous
about
last
Joshua.
words, Aaron. There we go.
You don't like Disney Star Wars?
No, I don't like Disney stuff.
Well, we're not talking about that. We're going to review that this week. We got Skybound GI Joe Phase 2 is full in effect. We got Scarlet #1, which was a big disappointment. I felt like Destro was a bounce back. Aaron, you don't think Destro was a bounce back? Oh, I thought the Cobra Twins were fine. It was just a little too long.
No, it was just boring. Like it didn't do anything for me. It didn't have the excitement or even like the imagination of Josh Williamson's kind of introduction to this new status quo. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe Dan Waters just didn't have a lot to work with. But I just don't think that he did anything interesting.
yeah,
I
I'll
was
ask
just like,
Aaron. Did it feel like every scene went on like 2 pages too long? Like everything
Yes.
stretched out, and it ended up by the end of it, instead of being excited, you kind of were like, yeah, I've had enough of this, and then that was my big problem with it. I still liked it.
When I get to the end, I should want more. I shouldn't be like, oh, I got through that. You know, and I do think that it needed a solid edit. It needed less. You're absolutely right. Everything felt like it went on too long. It felt like it could have been tighter, more concise. Yeah, I just
I like
did not.
Destro standing up to Cobra Commander telling him, I'm not your subordinate. That was cool, moment.
Yeah, I
He's
guess.
kind of
but
smart.
I mean,
Let's bring in all the other arms traders out there, make sure nobody else has got Energon. If they do, maybe we'll kill them.
Yeah.
It's kind of
there's good idea. I mean, there's good ideas there. I just don't think that the execution was very interesting.
I think the art didn't help.
Wow, that's true too. If you got dull art, it really kind of.
Tom Riley on this might have elevated it for you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Or even Paul Pelletier or any of the other guys that are working on this stuff, would have been a better choice. But yeah, it was just I don't know. For me, it feels like Phase 2 of the Energon universe we're starting to see the cracks, and I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know if they're going to be able to maintain momentum. I don't know if they're going to be able to continue to get the enthusiasm that they've had. I mean, hiring Kelly Thompson's certainly a huge misstep. And yes, the Destro book was better, but it's coming off. Was it really better, or is it just you're coming off of Scarlet #1 and anything would seem like a life raft at that point?
It's seeming like hiring the Batman group editor to be the group editor over Energon was a bad idea because he went and hired all the shitty Batman writers that didn't have a job.
Yep, exactly right.
Yeah. Gray, you're not much of a G.I. Joe guy. Have you read the Destro and Scarlet books? What are your thoughts?
I thought Scarlet was really mid and, like you say, totally overpowered, ridiculous. Destro, I think it seemed to be kind of what's the word? Only me, but I kind of enjoyed it. It reminded me of the comics when I was young, where it's like the Battle Action Force used to get. The art style was from that comic style, almost cartoon style. But yeah, I've seen quite a lot of criticism about it. I felt like there was almost too much going on. He tried to put too much into it. The first issue, he was trying to set up too many things, and it was a little bit like, this character, this character, this character. But I still had a good time.
There's a lot of Easter eggs in that book.
Yeah, there were, exactly. It felt like it's written by someone who doesn't really know, the whole universe and lore like me, like G.I. Joe. So
They were kind of fed, like, put these things in it, and they're like, all right,
Yeah.
and they kind of had to make it work.
I can make a his tank. It's in the scene now. Yeah. I made a mistake. Jim, you're the newbie to the G.I. Joe stuff, right?
Yeah, I was actually gone for a second. I ran downstairs. But yes, I am the newbie of both Transformers and G.I. Joe stuff. I don't know much.
And you
about
like the
it all.
Duke stuff a lot. You also like Cobra Commander.
Yeah.
Or Scarlet and Destro making you rethink an investment in Energon moving forward?
No, and there was somebody who talked to me that said after the first issue of Scarlet, they were completely giving up on the whole Energon universe. I'm not going to go that crazy. I didn't love it. I'll still read every issue of that. And I liked, when I first read Cobra Commander, didn't really know all the characters in that and Cobra Law, and I ended up really liking it. I'm hoping
Same
the same
here.
thing with Destro.
You gotta
Love
watch
Duke
the
and
G.I. Joe the
still love
movie.
the Transformers and stuff like that. But I just, I'm coming in pretty cold with it. I don't really know a lot about all this stuff.
Watch G.I. Joe the movie and get your Cobra Law knowledge built up.
That's what I'd have to do, yeah.
It was pretty lore breaking at the time, and it bothered a lot of people. But in retrospect, it's a lot of cheesy fun, and you get and Nemesis Enforcer is just badass, and even in the cartoon, you get some really great moments, and you get Burgess Meredith just chewing the scenery as Globulus.
The thing is, like I said in my reviews and things like that, I understand when you get some big moments where you'll get like a big G.I. Joe character or a big Transformers character. They write it so it's big. But without that connection, some of the things don't hit as hard with me that they would with, people who really love it and know it. So I just go in knowing that I have to get caught up with things like that and whatnot.
I like the Cobra twins. They were almost finishing each other's sentences, Aaron, but not quite there. You notice that?
Not quite the inept, insufficient, inexcusable.
Yeah. It was close, but not quite there. But they did seem pretty devious, like killing all those dudes and obviously doing the attack by the end. Pretty good stuff.
And introducing the Crimson Guard too. I always loved all that Crimson Guard stuff. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I was
do you like the faulty bats?
The faulty bats? Yeah.
I like the faulty bats, but I also like when they were saying to Destro, "Hey, we heard you have these robot army guys." He's like, "I don't know what the hell you're talking about." And then they show down below, we're all there. He's like, "Yeah, that stuff isn't right." Also, I love where he's like telling Cobra Commander, "This shit don't work. Like, it's really bad." Cobra, "Hey, bring it back. We'll read you." Oh no, we don't have to go that far. I kind of like them shooting people in the face. We just have to, tear them back a little.
You can't turn them on unless
shoot everybody.
Cobra Twins, not knowing anything about them, reading it, I get the idea, and I got the concept, but again, their explanation just went on and ended up being something that was more boring to me than actually exciting, and that was just
my problem. 5 pages. It should have been 2.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
it's
really
like
over-explained.
They explain it on the file card of the characters in like less than 100 words. Those file cards were like 50 words, and they explain to you, they have Corsican brothers syndrome, and they feel each other's pain, and they can kind of sense each other's thoughts, finish each other's sentences. It's like you're like, okay, I get that. As a kid, you got it. It's like you're over explaining everything here.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the codename G.I. Joe stuff though.
Yeah, that's what I'm
excited for.
I'm waiting for Baroness.
I'll probably not. I'm going to skip, I think, Scarlet and just do Destro.
I'm looking forward to Baroness's heel turn. That's going to be obvious. I heard all this stuff like, "Oh, I don't like Baroness as a Joe." And I'm like, are you kidding? She's like a triple or quadruple agent. Her
specialty is counterintelligence. That's what she
her
does.
destiny is to be with Lardestro. Come on. I'm waiting for that. I like romance notes, and I love the romance between Destro and Baroness. That's always been like, I like their relationship.
Hotter than Scarlet and Snake Eyes?
Yes.
Yes.
Corporate
Well, I guess
Commander
it's
has given me
Scarlet
the
and
keys to the
Jinx
master
now.
tonight.
Oh yeah, Scarlet and Jinx. You know, 'cause
Uh-oh.
scissor me, daddy ass.
Woo!
Well, you fucking AEW marks.
Yeah,
Messing
I
with
love AEW. That's evident.
Are we getting a
The way I
Storm
get
Shadow
attacked on
solo
Twitter whenever I
mini?
say
I
something about
think
AEW.
we could.
I think
That would-
Storm Shadow's in Scarlet.
Yes.
I know.
It's so
And,
weird. They should have had a Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes book.
Like,
Yes.
what's next? Like, I want Tripwire and Televiper. Yeah.
You want the Snowball miniseries.
Maybe. Like Wetsuit. I like Wetsuit. He was, Torpedo. Torpedo was a fun character. Torpedo and the Adventures of Torpedo and Shipwreck. Think about it.
No,
man.
it's the gay couple in GI Joe is Leatherneck and Wetsuit.
Oh, really?
The seal and the Marine. No, well, I mean, no, not really, but like in the way that they bicker, Buzz Dixon has said on the cartoon, they would always joke that they were like the married couple.
Wrecking everybody.
Mhm.
Goodness. Wetsuit was the least creepy G.I. Joe message, right? Knowing is half the battle when you come up out of the water while you were swimming.
No, that was Deep Six. Deep Six comes out from
yes.
underneath the kids that are swimming in the pond, and you're like, "What were you doing down there while these kids were swimming? Like, what's going on, Deep Six?"
Good stuff,
I just
but-
spent close to $400 with Skybound. I got the GI Joe compendium, and
On
at its base
Kickstarter?
level- yeah, on Kickstarter. That's almost about to break $3 million. I hope that Larry Hama, in his old age, is getting a nice chunk out of this. I hope he's getting a really nice payday out of this. But it's collecting all 155 issues of GI Joe, the GI Joe yearbooks, GI Joe versus Transformers. GI Joe special missions too, over 4 hardcovers. You got your choice of choosing Cobra or Joe, and I got the Cobra ones because they got Baroness on the spine, and I love Baroness. Yeah, dude. And I also bought an extra sheet of the Joe trading cards because you get trading cards exclusive to what side you pick, but also for some add-ons. I picked. I'm picking up a page of the Joe cards, the Storm Shadow card, which is both Joe and Cobra, a hologram sticker. So all
Dreadnoughts?
No dreadnoughts, no. But
Dreadnoughts.
Who cares?
Dreadnoughts.
Dreadnoughts. What I
Sorry.
said.
And thank you. And but all together, the price tag was $396. And I'm like, wow, I did. But that thing is made for me, dude. I'm just looking forward to this.
Joe
Thank
says
you.
it sounds like from Larry's post that he's at least getting something for the Kickstarter.
Thank you, Joe. Good to
That
see
makes
you,
me
man.
happy because I was going to say we all know that Tony Moore had to sue Robert Kirkman in order to get his due from Walking Dead. So
Yeah.
I was hopeful that that maybe Robert has learned that lesson and
Mhm.
wants to take care of a legend like Larry who has contributed so much, not only to GI Joe but to the comics industry in general.
Yeah,
And
all that
G.I. Joe
Wolverine-
Real American Hero is still good. This
Yes.
week's issue
Yes,
was fantastic.
It's fantastic. I look
Are
forward
you
to that
still
every
reading that
month.
one, Dylan?
I need to get back into it because I dropped off during the IDW phase when I thought Larry Hama ran out of ideas with how he killed Snake Eyes and everything. That was when I dropped off. But I heard
Jump in
since
on
it came to
301.
Skybound, it's pretty good. Yeah.
The Chris Mooneyham art is awesome for 6 issues, and then I think it's 5 issues actually. And then Paul Peltier has done the last 2, and they're
Mhm.
really, really good.
And
Lot of
yeah,
fun.
he's killing it. Like I wasn't sure just based on some of his older art. I was like, I don't know if that really fits with GI Joe, but
Mhm.
the inks and everything have really he's really solid.
Yeah, the Pelletier stuff's nice. I just don't like there's something about the coloring. It's not his line work. It's got to be the colorist because there's this Ben-Day dot screen that they put on it. It's supposed to be nostalgic and resemble the color dots of traditional printing of offset printing, and we're so beyond that now. So it's kind of like, is that so necessary? It's just kind of, for me, it's a distraction. It's like, look at this, all these tiny dots. That's not the inking process. That's a digital screen someone put there. So I'm like, less of that garbage, more clean lines, please. Thank
Very
you.
nice.
Fair enough.
Anyone have anything else to say about Skybound G.I. Joe before we move on to the end of the show?
Yes, move away from Kelly Thompson as quickly as possible, Skybound.
I got many questions. Will there be a toy line
She's going to do the
There already
Baroness
is.
miniseries.
of
There
there's of Energon Universe imprint toys?
The Energon universe is using the designs, largely using the designs from the GI Joe Classified line that's out right now.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Major Blood looks like his figure that was released. I assume Zartan's gonna be the same. They're good design. They're good solid designs. They're
Right.
Now Hasbro is moving back into giving you the classic designs in the 6-inch scale, so
Mhm.
you'll be able to get those too. But they kind of do like a reimagined version, and then they do a retro version because they know that you'll buy it twice.
Very, very smart.
Indeed.
Carlitos Figueroa, Comics Aficionados, who do you think will write ASM after Wells is gone? Jerry Doug. My final answer.
I want Paul Jenkins because I'm sentimental.
Sully.
Thank you.
Aaron
You know I did a
Sparrow.
good job.
Chuck Austin.
Ooh, you
Yes.
evil man.
Steve Austin, the Bionic Man.
Jim August.
Stone
The
Cold
weird
Steve
science
Austin.
Ooh.
Spider-Man's gonna be opening a can of whoop ass. Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Dylan, who are you putting up? Who do you think will be writing ASM?
Oh man, who could really come in and wreck everything? Yep, Bendis makes his comeback.
Jackson Lanzig and Colin Kelly double teaming that bad boy.
No, that would be the worst.
Bendis makes his comeback to
Donny
see what
Cates back
havoc
from the
he
dead. Come on.
can
Graham
wreck.
Morrison.
Wasn't Donnie supposed to write ASM?
He was supposed to
blew up
write
his life?
Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Ah.
He was supposed to be doing all the Ultimate stuff, supposedly. He was supposed to do something else, but I can't remember what it was. Michael Bomer. Here you guys go. $5 for each of you. Another 10 on the way. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate you support the channel. I hope you are enjoying the stream. And there's the other tag.
Thank you.
Captain Zachbeard. Has anyone on the panel checked out the DC Compact Comics? I picked up Court of Owls and Watchmen, and I'm very impressed, especially with the price.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I've seen the Court of Owls. I picked up and opened up Watchmen, and for me, it's like Watchmen Compact looks like it's the original coloring because maybe about a decade or more ago they did this remastered version of Watchmen
that's right.
with new coloring to it, and I thought that was a step back. I'm a big fan of that, just of the original series and the original coloring. It has so much warmth and tone to it that it's so messing with that just on.
I was thinking about picking up a compact one. I wasn't sure. So it looks good, is it? Good quality?
The pages are shrunk, so they're tiny. So it's not like they mess with the panels.
Do you need your reading glasses?
At this age, maybe.
Magnifying glass.
Give me some Viagra, some Metamucil,
Get
with my
magnifying
reading glasses, and an Amazing Spider-Man, please.
Take your
Does
set
anyone-
from Silver and sit down for some comics reading.
Don't
Has
take
anyone
my picture.
actually bought a compact comic? They're not obviously being sold here, as far as I know, in the Philippines or probably in Japan. Have you seen them yet, Dylan?
I have not seen them out. All I've ever seen is on Twitter. I like the idea of it. I think it's a good idea. Do $10 compact.
I think they
comic.
picked out a lot of the wrong stories, but
Yeah.
Remember Wes a few years ago on the show when I said that that's what modern comics needed to do to compete with mangas? They needed to put out little compact versions and just start with a volume 1 and start going through the whole history of the character. Remember when I said that? You're welcome, DC.
well, they didn't do that. They're just randomly picking stories, but
Yeah, well, I mean, they still
wish they
managed to
would.
mess it up. They still managed
Yes.
to mess it up. But,
Yes.
it's DC.
But hopefully they're cool. I'm not sure where they're being sold, if it's just in bookstores or Walmart or comic shops, but hopefully
I
everywhere.
haven't been to a bookstore in ages, but if I do, I'll let you know, because that's what they're supposed to be. They're just supposed to be interpolated, like on the shelf, not in the comic section. They're supposed to get your eye, they're supposed to be in the noir section or the crime section. That's what the whole part of that publishing thing is. And I'm looking forward to Wonder Woman Earth 1. That I haven't read that yet. And I love Grant Morrison. I love Yannick Paquette's art. So I'm like, you know what? Here, I'm going to experience this compact format when they release that in the next round. So I'm looking forward to that.
Very nice. Carlitos Figueroa. Wouldn't be surprised if Kelly does a Baroness story. She did write Black Widow. I wouldn't be surprised if she does a Baroness story either. If she does every solo female GI Joe character story, because you have to hire people based on the gender of the character and stuff like that.
Not on talent, which is why you keep hiring Kelly Thompson.
She's better than some of the
Aw.
other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still not good. Like she doesn't.
No.
Like I said, she just does the same story again and again. Sully even pointed out she's doing the same action beats. It's because there's no real imagination there. You're just going through the motions, and she's just the token female who's like, yeah, she's not the worst.
What do you
It's
mean?
true,
She's always
'cause
been a
she's not
huge
Sydney
G.I. Joe
Howard.
Scarlet fan.
Yeah, she's
Always.
been
Always,
with
forever.
Scarlet from day
Her
one.
favorite character, yeah.
Yeah.
Before I wrote that Yuri story for Street Fighter, which by the way is in stores this week, Street Fighter Game Gals #1, you could go through my Twitter timeline and you could see me talking about Yuri Han quite a bit. You know why? Because I'm an actual fan of Street Fighter and of that character.
Nah, you're just a nerd.
Yeah.
Retro Man, random question. Is Phil Noto supposed to be a good artist? Why does he keep getting pushed? I'm going to throw this one to Sully because I know you love Phil Noto.
Thank you. I love Phil Noto's art. I think he's because if you know your Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics, you know the spectrum of cartooning goes from very very abstract to photorealistic. Phil Noto does a great job at the photorealistic. He does great covers. He got good composition. He can nail the actors, nail the characters, but what he can't do is
Visual storytelling.
He can't do action scenes. They're always literally flat-footed. These kicking scenes and there is some like
no knee bend.
Yeah, there's some or kinetic motion or there's Iron Man landing with the heroic superhero landing thump. You know what I mean? And there's no motion to it. You know what I mean? But he's a great.
There's no
artist.
life to it.
Yeah, there's no action to it. But he's great at what he does. He does great covers. He just like I say, he just doesn't do, in my humble opinion, good action scenes. I've met the guy. I like the guy. He's a nice guy and everything. He does a good job, but but he's also associated with Jerry Duggan. They're friends. They're quite often they've been battery partners for 2 decades. Like a pitcher and a catcher on a baseball team.
Wow.
That's the battery.
Going real sexual here now, are we?
No, go baseball. The pastime, baseball.
I don't
Talking about
understand
the Sox.
I don't understand the reference. What's this bases ball that everybody?
I'm talking about Tim Wakefield and his catcher.
What is stealing fifth base? No, don't ask that. No,
Wait, Sully, is this bases ball? Is that where teams of men attempt to strike a hurled white spheroid with a cudgel?
Yes, and we have put in timer clock now for American attention span, 21st century style.
Phil Noto as an interior artist is awful.
Mhm.
Maybe they need a better colorist to make things more vibrant, but everything's dull and boring and lifeless, and the action sucks. And their legs are always too short, and they look like fucking Gary Oldman and Tiptoes.
But he draws beautiful women. He was like, do you remember the Black Widow series he did? You know what I mean? Like he's amazing. He draws
Jerry Duggan
women.
Black Widow doesn't sound all that intriguing to me.
Yeah, I forget, man. There's been so many bad comics over the past 20 years.
It's been rough, but there you go. We got a Phil Noto supporter, and even he can't support Phil Noto on interiors. Sorry. I'm sorry I had to do that to you, Sully.
Oh, that's fine.
But it's time for the fun part of the show. It's time to wrap this bitch up and give some comic book recommendations. And this is a good week. There are lots of comic books worth recommending this week. Sully, you look like Tyler Durden, but you feel like who was it? The
Hawkeye from MASH.
Hawkeye from MASH.
Who formatted my sense of humor. Yeah. But, I got a bag of funny books.
Very good.
I got a bag of funny books for
you
us.
You got a Heathcliff in there?
I might have a Marmaduke, the big red dog. No, that's Clifford's the big red dog. Marmaduke is a different character. You know what I mean? We have to worry about Marmaduke getting rebooted and mishandled by the SJWs and making it a joke. I'm sorry. What's in the bag? What did I know, huh?
You okay, Eric?
We have to keep
Marmaduke. I thought he was on the Incel stream or whatever the thing that he does.
Exactly. Incels complaining about Marmaduke and Heathcliff teaming up. Never happened. Not in continuity. It's not canon. What did I get this week? Well, I got the oversized Last Ronin 2 Revolution issue number 2. This is pretty entertaining. It's co-written by Kevin Eastman. I'm supporting this because this is most definitely set in the Mirage universe and not the IDW continuity stuff. This is like prime Turtles for me. And we're getting to know the new Turtles. They're fine. They're different characters, and
I I'm finding it very difficult to invest in 4 new Turtle brothers. Or is it
True.
3
And
brothers and a sister.
is it 3 brothers and we don't know. I mean, I'm not too
I
sure
don't
about
care.
that yet. But you know, I'm taking a chance on a new comic book, and this is one of them, and this is great. I don't mind this so far. What else did I get? I got Man's Best 4 of 5 by Pornsak Pinochet, our favorite writer for his name. It's about 3 animals that have been weaponized and sent in outer space, and everything's coming to a close. I'm so glad that Joe Corallo is in our chat today. Hey, Joe, good to see you. Guess what I picked up? It was back on the shelf. I got your Pride issue, bro. I got no bone spending money on this. This is I'm a big old school Doom Patrol fan. There are 2 Rachel Pollack comics in here that are reprinted, and the Doom Patrol one is pretty funny. I missed that one. It's about a guy with a small winky who makes a weaponized codpiece to compensate. It's pretty funny. And then Joe Corallo has an original story with that trans character at the end of it, and it's seamless to Dennis Culver's Unstoppable Doom Patrol set in that continuity. So awesome. Pick this up if you're a fan. It's worth it. And don't be afraid to support your alphabet friends. And it's okay. I think the rainbow's okay in doses. What else do we got? I got Hellblazer Dead in America issue 6. Still pretty good. Salisbury is a kind of a mess. You know what I mean? But this is as close to, yeah. Are you kidding? Sully, are you kidding? You're joking again? But it's the closest.
This was better, wasn't it, than the last couple?
It was. And this is as close as we're getting to the original recipe John Constantine of the Vertigo days. I got 2 issues left. I got Destro #1 by Dan Waters and Company. It's decent. We've been talking about it for half an hour. And we got Ultimate Spider-Man #5, which is a lot of fighting, a lot of good art, and a lot of good action scenes. It's back to form. And what's going to become of the Spider family now?
What the fuck? Where's Redcoat? Redcoat 3?
I didn't get Redcoat 3. It was sold out.
No, I found out what happened. Actually, when they shipped it, not every store got it. So Image asked every store to hold it back till next week. It all comes out at the same time. Yeah, a bunch of stores didn't get their shipments.
I didn't know that.
I just found that out this morning, yeah.
I'm buying Rook Exodus, so
that's the better one. But Redcoat's worth it.
Redcoat this week is really good. Or next week.
I want to tell you that this artist and writer is at my local comic book shop this afternoon, and I'm going to go and get this copy signed. I'm a huge Jack Kirby Fourth World fan. I turned on to the Fourth World in 1987 with DeMatteis and Giffen and McGuire's The Justice League with Big Barda. I fell in love with Big Barda, and I like Oberon, and I like Scott Free, and that was my entryway into Fourth World. This is a brand new young adults book, and it's by Ngozi Ukazu, and it's a retelling of Big Barda's story, and there is nothing about modernity in this book. This is a solid Big Barda story. It's about Big Barda meeting Scott Free, maybe having a little crush on Orion. Remember, this is a young adult book, so this is aimed at a specific market. But I mean, the art in this is pretty good. There's tragic heroes in here. She loses, she gains, she grows stronger. I'm a big Barda fan, and this nails the character. Don't be afraid to pick up on this book. It's Barda. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on, Wes. Awesome. It's good to see everyone. Best chat in the world too.
Absolutely. Jose the Beat says, I recommend Destro. Did not expect to enjoy it. I also enjoyed it, my friend. And I thought I definitely would be recommending that one on Best of the Week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We've got Dylan. Welcome back to the channel. We're having you more on the aficionados more often. Are you enjoying this? Do you want to come back?
Yeah, I love coming back. It's fun.
I thought you didn't like coming on, so I'd invite you over every 3 months or so.
No, I love coming on. I don't like waking up at 7 a.m., but it's worth it. It's fun. That's the only thing.
I'll try whenever we get the Superman and stuff that you're really into, or GI Joe. I'll try and get you all those weeks.
I appreciate it. But yeah, I have a great time. Thank you for having me back on. It's always fun. It's always a good time talking comics.
You got anything to recommend?
Yes, I'd say Green Lantern War Journal issue number 10. I've been a big fan of what Philip Kennedy Johnson's doing there. I love his world building. He always has great character moments. Like John does something badass every issue. The setup with Guy Gardner is cool. I can't wait to see Guy Gardner go in there and try to try to save John. So it's been great if you haven't read that. Issue 10 is really good. Wolverine Blood Hunt #2 is fun. Big Dan was the highlight of the issue. I love the part with Big Dan. That was cool. If you want to see Wolverine kill vampires, then go ahead and check it out. Blood Hunt #2 is pretty good. And then I read Red Coat #3 digitally because I didn't get it from my shop. I didn't know what was going on until he just explained what happened. I was like, I don't know why it wasn't with my comics. So I went and I just bought it digitally and read it. And it's really good. The setup at the end is cool. I'm interested to see how that goes because a little bit of a twist at the end. But Red Coat's been solid, and I've been enjoying it. Issue 3 is no exception. It's pretty good. So those are my 3 I recommend this week.
Dylan, can you please explain to Jim what happens in Green Lantern War Journal #10? He was lost.
How are you lost? What are you lost?
Nobody's going to be able to tell me what happened. That was bullshit. That book doesn't make any freaking sense.
What do you mean? I mean,
You
there's a
tell me
lot of
what's
weird
happening in
names.
the Dark Star stuff and what's happening in the world where John is and what exactly he's doing.
He went to the Dark Star, which is her
But
world.
he's
She's
been there.
protecting him.
He's been there.
No,
and then
he hasn't
you
been
just have
in
this-
the Dark Star. He's
Yeah,
been
but
outside of it, which is
he's in the
explained by
Dark
the guy
Star
that
deal,
looks
but
like the
again,
old Oliver Queen.
it's a bunch of bullshit.
No, it's not. You gotta open yourself up.
I'll open myself up with the other 5 people buying it while it's canceled.
Shots
you're why we
fired
get
by
bad
Jim.
comics.
What's that?
Shots
You're why we
fired.
get bad comics. You gotta support the good comics like this one.
Yeah.
No.
I think it's
Hard
good. I
comics.
enjoy
I
it.
think
Yeah.
it's a bullshit
get-
story since those backups. It's horrible.
It's Jeff.
It's good.
know,
I can
no,
understand
no.
being confused by there's a lot of like silly names thrown around. I get that, but you can get
Dark
like
Star
the
Defend?
gist of
No,
Yeah.
there's nobody jumping into it. It ties into so much bullcrap with Mosaic stuff that nobody read or can't even access anymore, and it's just nonsense. But
Not
that's
really.
me.
I mean, I read Warworld Saga and I get some of the throwbacks in there. I
Again,
it's pretty-
it's going and trying to tie back into the one thing that he's done good. It's just
the
ridiculous.
one thing he's done.
Yeah,
good.
what
do you
else
mean?
has he
Okay,
done?
Johnson's. What do you mean?
What else?
Did you Last God? Did you read Last God?
And I
Fantastic.
still,
Too
I'm
many-
still
you
sleeping
were still
from
lost. Hold up. If there's like more than one thing going on in a comic, can you not follow it?
it.
Is that
Well,
what happens?
actually, go fuck yourself. How about that?
Wowzers!
Fight.
I'm sorry. I thought
He
Jim,
said,
Fuck
I
all
thought
of
he
you.
was open to learning about the story. He was so upset.
Jim already said that he's got crippling dyslexia. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, fuck off. Fuck off, all of you.
Okay,
Fuck you.
I could get how the names could be bad with crypto.
No, come on,
dyslexia.
Jim.
That
Jim,
could
I
be
just
tough.
offended you, so you at least got to do the. F you. You're cool, and F you.
Yeah.
He's
yeah,
having to go with the
exactly.
birds now.
This is a whole week of this again. All of you, go to hell. All of you.
Jose the Beast. Also, just read Volume 1 Trade of Birthright by Joshua Williamson. I enjoyed it. If anyone is interested in fantasy and family, this is a story for you. There are lots of good reports on Birthright by Joshua Williamson, which I think has been over for like 3 years now. Something like that. So definitely would recommend that one. Gray, are you recommending any funny books this week?
I am. I've got a couple of extra ones. Spawn, issue 354. I got back into that. It's a fantastic issue. Gorgeous art by Brett Booth. Some cool vampire action. Sounds a bit familiar at the moment. But yeah, recommend that. Rat City, issue 3. Wes, anyone reading that? Erica Schultz, surprisingly, she's still got me. Issue 3. Enjoying it. A bit of a futuristic cyberpunk version of Spawn. And what was it? There's one more as well, another indie. It's basically indies for me this week, apart from Destro. Let's have a quick look. Uncanny Valley, issue 3. Just a lot of fun.
Really enjoying Uncanny Valley. That was a lot of fun. All right, last but not least, Aaron, do you have any comic books to recommend this week?
I do. Unsurprisingly, my number one recommendation is Street Fighter Masters Game Gals #1, which has a Yuri Han story written by an up-and-coming writer that you might know that's been up-and-coming for, over a decade now, Aaron Sparrow. So definitely
Very
go
nice.
check that out. Aside from
What's
that,
the
I would
reception
say-
been like? Were people happy?
Yeah, people seem to like it so far. I've had some questions about who the character that Yuri fights is. It is actually a Street Fighter character. It's a very obscure Street Fighter character from Mouse Generation, which is a very little known game. But it was a lot of fun to do, and people seem to really like it. So, if
Aaron,
you want a yes,
Where can we find this?
you can find this in comic shops everywhere. You can also find some fantastic variant covers featuring Yuri on the Udon Entertainment website, which I highly recommend. There's some great.
Cool.
I don't know how to say the artist's name. I think it's Rake, but it's spelled R-E-I-Q. He's one of my favorite artists. So to be wrapped in him, to be wrapped in a Brett Booth cover, these are all dreams come true. aside from me self-promoting shamelessly, I will say there's Venom Separation Anxiety out this week, which go support David Michelini and the creators that used to give us good stories. It's a lot of fun, and it's definitely a throwback to the feeling that you had when you used to read Amazing Spider-Man under him and Todd McFarlane and Eric Larson and all the great artists that he worked with. I'm also going to recommend facsimile editions of Amazing Spider-Man 257, which is the first appearance of Puma. That's out this week. And the facsimile edition
Puma,
of
like
Crisis...
from Lion King?
Puma.
Oh.
Thomas Fireheart.
Well, you're aching for spanking.
Spider-Man.
Yep, John
And
friend
it's like
Pumba.
By the way, the line about I got brokenhearted every time that I Pumbaa, the kids in the audience, that was ad-libbed by Jim Cummings. Little known fact. So he should have gotten some of that songwriting money. Also, the facsimile edition of Crisis on Infinite Earths #1 is out this week, so I recommend that as well.
Very nice. And Glitchioki, Aaron, how'd you manage to write for Street Fighter?
So I had been talking about my love of Street Fighter and my love of Yuri Han online for a while, and I was on Clownfish TV on their Derezzed podcast, and Matt Moylan over at Udon was the other guest. And we just kind of hit it off, and we're just really, generally friendly with each other. And we would talk about Street Fighter and other stuff that we loved every now and then. And then I met him at San Diego Comic-Con, and he asked me if I would ever be interested in writing any Street Fighter stuff. And I said, I would absolutely love to. And so when Yuri came around, which I guess Yuri was supposed to be its own book, it was supposed to be like a full-on Yuri one-shot that was the original idea, but then Capcom's got some plans for Yuri in the game, and they didn't want anybody contradicting it, but they also didn't want to give anybody the script for what they're going to do, and possibly have it leak. So it just kind of became like, well, just do like a short story that's just a fight. So that's what it got shrunk down to, but I was still thrilled to do it.
Congratulations. Really appreciate that. And everybody should go out and check that out and support Aaron Sparrow and all the fantastic people. Fun chat this week. We had a blow-ups. We had heartbreak. We had laughs and all that good stuff. And we're back, baby. We'll be back next weekend with the Comics Aficionados. And we should have Domesticated Doc in attendance once again.